Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 113 of the Red Force podcast. My name is Eric Tolado. Joining me today, Christian Tolado.
And Mr. Morj. And O'Hara.
That'll be the later segment, Christian.
As this is the
Now, go on.
One Piece / Wano Report episode. Alright?
Red Force, not One Piece, but yeah.
What did I say?
You said One Piece /
well,
Wano Report.
The Red Force podcast / the Wano Report. We're here.
And you want to be the co-host.
Well,
falling apart at the seams.
Were you talking to the Wano? Are you on the Wano Report?
Now, a little bit of behind the scenes, Christian. We're late, clearly. The chapter came out some 2 days ago.
Sure.
But
yeah,
we're going to deal with a European, an American, and us in Australia. So time zone
mix-ups.
Complete mess.
So, I was on the Wano Report. You're going to see the Wano Report shoved in here in the chapter segment.
Now, how long is it? How long is this episode going to be? This is going to be a long episode.
It's going to be a long episode. But, you know, we're not going to really talk about the chapter ourselves because talk about it with
You
Mr.
talk
Morj.
about it, sure.
So,
you know, we got Shanks, we got Thunderdome.
We got a lot of fucking questions.
Are we going to talk about Odin or the Power Scale at some point? Or are we going to do that at a later date?
Later date, not this episode. It's getting too long, alright?
Alright.
So, anything to talk about this week?
Anime episode preview
Sure.
has page 1 and Sanji. Sure. We are getting to the moment that King of Lightning has been waiting for.
Alright, finally.
What?
What did you think about?
What?
What did you think about Big Mom in the anime?
Oh, whatever. Now, I see some preview nonsense.
I was about
Did you
to
see
bring
it?
it up.
She jumps on the garb.
She jumps on the calf, so it makes it more. So it's like.
Is she gonna fight King, and is King gonna knock her back?
Is Big Mom gonna fall off the fish because King hits the fish?
Maybe it, recoils off the fucking rope on the bridge. Maybe that might clear it up. But Christian, what are they actually going for here?
Oh my god, we'll find out next week.
I think they're clearly setting up a King versus Big Mom situation. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and people want the anime to be canon, apparently.
Alright.
You know.
We got how strong is Shanks, we got Thunder, we got all that shit. We got the question corner. A lot of questions this week, Christian.
Okay. Welcome to all the Wano Report people coming in here.
If they're here, sure.
Right? You will hear the lore of how the Wano Report started. It's all thanks to us.
Well, did you cover that on?
We did cover that.
Okay.
And Morj denies it, but...
What does O'Hara reckon?
O'Hara reckons he had the idea and he contacted Mr. Morj before he was on the podcast.
Hopefully you revealed off-camera conversation with Morj after the episode came out, Christian.
Why?
I remember specifically talking to the man about, how...
Yeah, that's what I said.
And all that stuff. What did he say?
He said it was unrelated.
Okay.
Okay, well...
Anyway.
There you go.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna talk about the. Do you want me to talk about the chapter?
Yeah, give your thoughts on the chapter. You're not on the Wano Report because.
All right. Solid chapter.
Right?
Oda again, patching up the holes.
Yeah.
All right. Now clearly, it brings up all this stuff. Like clearly, Whitebeard knew about. Roger clearly told him about this prophecy. That's why he's talking about the Great War at the Marineford. All these pieces of the puzzle come together. I'm sure he talked about all that stuff.
Sure.
Am I mad that this is getting to cartoon levels of...
Wait, how did he talk to Whitebeard?
What do you mean?
How did Odin talk to Whitebeard?
Roger talked to Whitebeard about Joy Boy, etc.
Alright.
Now, I might start to get upset that this is getting to cartoon levels of... Luffy's the man. Maybe. Alright, but we have to wait and see. We're not there yet.
The topic of the show is interesting prophecy implications.
We'll get there. Alright, we'll cover that then. I don't need to talk about that because we'll get there.
Alright.
Now, the things that still don't all add up.
Sure.
Odin says no one can beat this man. Until
apparently
the man...
Whitebeard can't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's Whitebeard? Apparently, Odin doesn't rate Whitebeard.
Whitebeard can't do it.
Now, of course, we have to assume that Odin's like, I can't get my boys involved, but he's willing to wait for an outside source to solve Wano's problems. So I don't see
of the age
I
of
don't,
history.
I don't see the connection, Christian, between his reasoning for not letting Roger and his boys help him, but allowing the man of legend to help the situation in Wano, right? Disconnects. We talk about it, right? But the man died in a hype way. Kaido apparently an honorable man. What are your thoughts about that?
Fixing up Kaido or patching up Kaido?
What do we think about that? Will that come into play at all?
Well, we already know that he didn't kill Ashra Doji because he's strong and he wants.
Because he's buff, yeah.
Didn't kill Luffy because he wants him on the crew. We already kind of knew this kind of stuff happening. So,
what do we think about technical things like him having the swords in the prison? What do we think about? What do we think about Toki's character? Are we gonna see that at some point?
I'm pretty sure Toki's gonna be the reveal at the end of the arc. So, wait till shit till Toki.
I messaged you when the chapter came out. I'm like, I'm sick of tired of these characters talking like no one would talk.
Yeah, because they're gonna.
They keep on saying, a certain island, a certain individual, certain things. Yeah. All right, but I'm gonna give this chapter 7 out of 10, Christian. Now something. Careful with the cables, Christian.
Alright, what's going on?
A little bit of a buzz going on, but it fixed itself up. I don't know. That's about it. Kaido with his double barrel short-off shotgun's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this on the Wano report.
Give us what Morj and O'Hara overview, because you got to play it after this, so it's a bit redundant for the viewers. But I would like to know.
Morj, they're both fine with it. All right, they both like this flashback. They both love the flashback. Both love.
Did you bring up the inconsistencies, Christian?
I wasn't trying to be too combative on there. All right, I didn't want to, trigger the audience.
Okay.
Of the Wano report. Alright. I made my points known. I just,
What they say about Whitebeard? Did they say anything about Whitebeard?
No, we mainly just talked about the entire Odin flashback and, what we think it is.
Again, you have to assume character motivations and details.
Well, we ended up getting into this, right? We ended up getting to this, right? Me being like, if Dragon takes over the world government, that's a bad plan.
Yeah.
And Morj and O'Hara are like, nah, because he's a good guy. I'm like, that's not the point, though. And then there was a thing there.
So it kind of devolved into your thing about political...
Well, I don't think Dragon taking over the world government.
Now, fans of the show know this argument, but we've had this conversation many times.
Yeah.
Right.
What is Dragon going to do? We asked this question a lot of times.
And again, how is that a sustainable plan when the man will die?
Yeah. So
corruption, we know all this stuff.
Yeah. So we got into a little bit other topics as well. A bit of Big Mom, bit of whatever.
All right, we're going back to the real time story.
Next chapter.
Can we teleport to the battle?
No. We can't. We have to find out who the traitor is.
My greatest fear is this is a recap chapter because we've been so far away from this.
No, there's no recap chapter. What are you talking about? Recap.
It'd be like half the chapter will be like this. Remember this thing?
No.
Like
no recap chapter.
It'd be like Orochi being like, "Oh, I blew up the bridges. They can't do shit."
Yeah, that'll happen. That'll definitely happen.
Now, does Shanks and Neko Mamushi and Marco and all the other white vampires turn up next week?
We can maybe expect Neko. We maybe expect Marco. Shanks too soon. Shanks is coming in on that second wind of the battle.
Okay.
You know that's gonna happen.
Did you talk about them being defeated in the war and?
Yes, that old tired argument where I just can't see it happening.
Okay. So you covered the important points.
Yeah, we covered it all right? Now, let's head over to the chapter / the Wano report.
Wait, do we do a countdown? I always forget. How do you start it nowadays? It's fine.
Start.
It's basically
just start,
right?
whatever.
Okay.
We're already starting.
Yeah, we've already started. Okay, so hey everyone, we're back with the Wano Report, episode number 26. And actually, this is a very special episode. They're all actually very special episodes, but this one's also special. It's special in a different way. This one's actually a cross podcast.
Oh no,
crosscast, I guess, with the Red Force
one
podcast.
One half of the Red Force podcast. Right?
One half of the Red Force podcast. The better half.
One
better half.
entire,
Oh shit!
The better
one
half.
entire Wano Report.
Because Eric didn't show up, and it's the entire Wano Report.
That's right.
Some say that we ripped off the Red Force podcast.
Yeah, some say.
The Red Force
Some
podcast
say
says that we ripped off the
No.
Here, two people say that.
This is what it is. Right?
Eric
this
and Christian accused me of that like both times that I went on the Red Force podcast.
Nah,
same.
Yeah,
this is what it is. This is what happened, right? We had Morj on the podcast, right? And then once the podcast was over, he started asking suspicious questions about how to do a podcast. And
did you do
how
that?
easy it
No,
was.
okay. O'Hara can vouch for this. It was O'Hara's idea to do a podcast. I was asking honest, sincere questions to the Red Force podcast.
Well, all I can say is you can thank the Red Force podcast for the Wano Report's existence at all. All right, so you can thank us.
I'm not sure. Is that
You can thank us.
So maybe to like, I don't know if we ever talked about this, but like the way we started the podcast was actually, I was like, well, when I came up with the idea, I was listening to like a lot of podcasts. Like I was listening to a lot of like Joe Rogan and like other podcasts regarding like a bunch of topics. And I just thought podcasts, like this is such a cool format to get like information out in like a natural way. I enjoy listening to it. I like to have like this conversational thing. Basically, when both of us, like Morj and me, were like doing just a bunch of videos, like I mean, like the high quality videos obviously are fun to make, but they're also hard to make. So I feel like the podcast was like a cool chance to get our ideas out.
Let's be honest, right? Podcasts, super easy, low effort, a lot of content. All right, that's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also like a chill format just to socialize, right? Like with other creators, with people, and so yeah. And I genuinely, honestly, I had that idea, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later, you guys like asked me like, oh, you guys want to come on my podcast? I'm like, oh shit, there's already a podcast. And then a little bit later, I found out that there's like the One Piece podcast. I also was not aware of that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be invited on that. Okay, the point being, guys, go
Why not
subscribe to the Red Force podcast. They have
really
done the podcast game longer than us and in a much more organized fashion with better guests overall.
Better guests.
No, better guests.
We have the same
Especially
guests.
when we are on.
We have the same friends. We have the same guests. Like, we haven't had anyone out of the community, so
they're better guests than our guests.
Okay.
No, but like definitely
all of our guests, if you've liked any of our guests, have also been on the Red Force podcast.
But I mean, it's definitely like no lie, like you guys definitely put a crazy lot of effort in that. Like I know that you, like the amount of work you put in your show is definitely way. Yeah, I really appreciate that, and you can tell.
For those who don't know the show, like we have multiple segments of like different things we talk about. You know, classic How Strong Is Shank segment every week. The classic. We turned the power scale into something different now, so we've got like a 1v1 matchup discussion.
Oh wait,
and
really? You got rid of the ranking?
Yeah, because we ran out of like characters to put on the list, like interesting characters. So
I guess
we changed it to a 1v1 battle with using that list to like gauge it. So we've turned that into that. And you know, we do questions, we do a whole bunch of stuff. You know, topic of the show, like topics outside of the chapter itself. You know, things we want to talk about in the community, that kind of thing.
And they do really great thumbnails. They stopped
really like Shanks
animated wars, but I like that. Guys, let's talk about the chapter.
Let us do talk about the chapter, and actually maybe let's also talk about the flashback as a whole, maybe a bit.
Yeah, I guess the flashback's over, right? The narrator said as much.
That's a good question. Like I've like seen really split opinions on that.
Well,
whether the flashback's over.
The narrator's like, let's go back to the main character. I'm like, all right, I guess it's over. Like
it feels like it's over. It feels
like me. I feel like I don't remember the exact like phrasing they used, but it was something like, now we turn our eyes back to the present, which is like, okay, this could mean we're immediately going back, or this could be we're slowly like moving back towards the present timeline. I personally would like to see like at least somewhere, like I was excited to see more of Toki and like her time traveling stuff. I'm definitely sure we're going to get that, but like I'm not like I'm curious if we'll get a glimpse of that in the next chapter.
My opinion on Toki is she's too important to the Void Century, so we get her at the end of the arc with the Void Century reveal. That's basically
no, I could agree with that. Like, I think this last segment of the castle, like them going to the castle and then being sent forward to time, there's definitely got to be some sort of mysteries around that section, basically. So I think you're right that we're probably like, this was the story of Odin, and we covered the story of Odin. So then now that last juicy bit's probably going to come after another reveal in the main story.
Right. Yeah. Let's just maybe start with your impression, Chris. First, what was your general take? We know you're you were at parts very critical of the flashback, so
last two chapters I've been less critical. I've enjoyed these last two chapters a little bit more. The two chapters before this, I wasn't too happy, and I know Morj wasn't that excited about it either. You know, it's a bit of, this flashback's a bit of hit and miss for me, because there's been really great stuff, and then there's been really like weird pacing issues and that kind of thing. I'm sure you've talked about this with Dritz when he was on the channel. I don't know, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but yeah, the chapter overall, it's kind of weird to me, because I get that like this chapter is supposed to be the big emotional payoff for this flashback. You know, Odin being epic, him dying with a smile on his face, him saying he's, I was born to boil, that kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, I didn't really feel connected with Odin, so the emotional impact wasn't really there. Like, contrast that with Corazon and his death. I think that was much more an impactful death, even though Corazon's a much less important character compared to Odin, like in the grand scheme. So, like, the emotional impact of this chapter is not really there for me. But again, it's all there. Like, that's the thing with this flashback. All the little things, all the dot points are there to make it, an emotional story. But I'm not sure that the sort of the way it's been structured and the way it's been shown has really helped the emotional weight of this story. Yeah, it's been an okay flashback in my opinion. I mean, by the Roger Whitebit stuff, everyone loves that hype, right? We can't ignore that. The Kaido stuff with him killing the granny, because she intervened in the fight, kind of confirms a few things in my mind, that Kaido actually does respect strength, and that he feels like his fight was cheated. And like, it kind of also implies that, because some people out there were saying that Kaido planned the whole Momonosuke trick thing, right? He planned that, and that was his strategy to beat Odin. And it turns out this chapter that it basically confirms that it wasn't. So it helps a bit. It helps to fix a few issues with Kaido's character a few weeks ago, with the trickery and the way it made him look, which we, I'm sure you guys talked about that chapter with, the way that Odin / made Kaido look. It made him look a little, little weak. Not necessarily the main villain of this arc. When you compare that to, like, let's just say Big Mom, you compare that with her flashback, and she's just destroying everyone. Like, there's no challenge for Big Mom. And then when we get Kaido, this Odin, you could say whatever you want about Odin. Is he as important as an emperor? It's kind of that issue. Yeah, I don't know. It was 20 years ago, but it still hurts his perception in the community, which is, from a writing standpoint, a little bit weird that you would have your villain get defeated in a flashback, even though you can justify it with, it's 20 years ago. Obviously, he was weaker, but in the perception area, it makes him look a little weak in my mind. But this chapter kind of cleared it up a little bit for me. Yeah. So
right. Yeah,
and
I definitely like to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I was actually curious to hear your thoughts on that, Morj, also, because I know like we disagreed on that a little bit over the last couple of chapters, because you kind of like went with Christian on that, where you were like, okay, this definitely left some sort of dent on your image of Kaido. Well, I personally really I really enjoyed the direction the flashback took with Kaido in the last couple of chapters. So like, did that change for you in the last chapter, or is that something?
It softened it for me. Yeah, okay. So it softened it for me in that I will like it if, and Christian, I don't really count this as Kaido's flashback. I feel like we will get a Kaido flashback.
He's in the flashback,
Yeah, he's in the flashback. this last chapter, the exchange between Odin and Kaido that, like, as Christian said, confirmed kind of that Kaido did not intend to win the fight that way, and everything like that. So to me, and it was Odin's last line to him, which was something along the lines of like, yeah, get stronger. So I would really like, and keeping in mind that that's the only slash on Kaido, I would really like it now if when we get a little more insight into Kaido, we learn, and it was a few things. Like, it was the fact that Kaido commented on Odin's death, and he actually seemed to really um almost be envious that Odin has gotten such a memorable death, basically. So I would
Again,
really like it.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you heard my theory on this, Morj? About Kaido? I think I've told you, like, Kaido's like true dream.
What's his
It's
true
to
dream?
like it's to like have a death that's more impactful than Roger's death. That's what I
Oh,
think his
dude,
dream
that would be
is.
actually really. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, Kaido seems to want an impactful death or whatever. But if it's specifically something like a grander death than Gold Roger, then that would be a really cool dream. So, I mean, going back to basically what I was saying, it has softened it a little bit for me. If this is more so the dawn of like a new progression for Kaido's character, and like he becomes the Kaido that we see today, who seems to be this strongest in a 1v1, looking for some grand death and everything like that. So if I can kind of separate the Kaido from back then from the Kaido of today, and like Oda fills in a little bit, like I still want a little more story of like how Kaido became who he is today, basically. And if Oda uses that as a transition point, that Odin actually pushed him in some sense or something like that, then I would actually really like it, because I can separate in my mind Kaido of today is a different beast than Kaido of back then. But if Oda doesn't really go that route as much, then I would still not be as happy with yeah, I mean, to me it's just always been like a very, very satisfying thing that One Piece does. It's one of my favorite things that One Piece does, which is only Luffy can take the big bad at the end of the day. Like, only Luffy could have hit NL. Crocodile, like, the amount of anticipation towards when Luffy finally hit Crocodile for the first time, it was great. And I think Oda does it better than like any other. Like, he just builds up these villains that makes it so satisfying that Luffy is finally the person to step up and hit him. So I don't know, like, it could flesh out Kaido's character more, but it still takes away from it a little bit in that sense for me. That was a long answer, but yeah.
I got a question for you, Morj. We all know that Luffy is gonna get the final blow on Kaido, and that's what, you know. You don't have to be a genius to work that out.
Yes. Zoro fans.
Zoro fans, well, you know, whatever. We already had the wanted moment in Punk Hazard. We already did it. We already did. Huh? We already did the wanted reference in Punk Hazard. Right? It's not happening again in Wano. Right? We already did it. You know, when Zoro cuts.
I think Zoro gets a cut on Kaido personally.
Sure, he gets a cut. Sure, but you know, but like how like we all can predict the reaction to when Luffy actually defeats Kaido, and you know the power scaling people are gonna go nuts. People who hate Luffy will be like, "Why does Luffy always get the shine?" But my question to you is like, how can Oda really make it so it's like Luffy? It feels earned that Luffy gets his win.
I mean, I've talked to you about this before, and we still disagree. So, like, if it's just gonna go down this rabbit hole again, then I don't know the point. But like, I think that we're about to hit the halfway point of Wano, and that there is a solid amount of time left after this, because I don't think they win at the Fire Festival still. So I don't think that there's a way that Oda could realistically power Luffy up, by the time of tonight, I guess. But over, like, if it's a more extended storyline, and this was the first phase of Luffy's growth, and he needs another phase of growth, which I would hope it is personally, then I think like you know, there's a world of possibilities. Ari, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've previously already said that I agree with you on that point. I definitely would, or at least I would enjoy it if there was a bit more to the story than just like one battle and then it's kind of over, like this one climactic battle and that it's been Wano. I would prefer it if that's like a bit more split up into like two phases. Regarding Kaido in general, like I've talked about this before. For me personally, like the last chapter already like still confirmed that a little bit more. I feel Oda has, like, similar with Big Mom, how he painted Big Mom to be this like monster who eats her own people and stuff, and then she turned out to be someone else. I think he did the same with Kaido, where Kaido was portrayed as this like undefeatable beast that like just is yearning, like because he's so strong, he's just yearning for his own death, kind of. And I feel like the last 3 or 4 chapters have really turned that image around, where I feel we're getting a lot more characterization for him. He definitely does not seem to be like this brute like ogre kind of character that's just like clubbing everyone down.
Not
and
as
just
of
wants
last
a good
chapter.
brawl.
Not as of last.
Yeah.
And I agree. I like that.
Yeah, he definitely look like he appears to be someone who's actually thinking about stuff. Like he's not dumb. Like he's not just like this like literally this natural disaster roaming around. So I really like that about him. I didn't have such a big problem with him being cut by Odin. Firstly, because we already know that Kaido was taken down before, and and that he would be cut by Odin. And secondly, because I feel like Oda really made it a point to pointing out that Kaido would get stronger. Like firstly by having, I think is it Sengoku or Garp stating that both Big Mom and Kaido got stronger.
But they were
And
talking
secondly,
about that from
Odin-
like to be fair, he was talking about from when they were rocks pirates. So like to me that's still too ambiguous. Like maybe Kaido's not in his prime. Like it's hard
Fair-
to say when did he
That's
hit
a fair
his prime.
point. But then, like the second thing is like in this chapter, Odin
Yeah.
literally says, "Get stronger."
That's what made it easier to swallow for me because one, it suggests Kaido wasn't at his prime, and two, it gives him more character development because it's like, oh, it seems like he was actually pushed to become a stronger.
For sure. And I feel at this point, I feel that Orochi might play maybe even a bigger role in the arc in general as we initially thought, because it appeared that like, oh, Orochi might just be like Kaido's puppet who he just like sat on the throne and he's just like, you know, enjoying life and shit and just doing what he wants to while he's actually not in power. But like after the flashback and especially after the last couple of chapters, it really feels like there's like a mutual relationship between Orochi and Kaido, where Orochi definitely is calling his own shots, like overruling Kaido basically in his decision basically to let the scabbards go once they actually manage to survive, or like sending his own people in there. So I like this, and like Orochi for me is such a, like the turnaround Oda did with his character is so fascinating to me. Like going basically from this character we thought was just this whiny kind of nobody weird villain to like this guy who's just like pure rage and has like so much negativity in him. So I feel Kaido maybe being a villain with this enormous amount of strength, but at the same time being someone who like you said, Chris, like respects Odin, respects strength, and is like a bit more honorable in a way. I feel like having those two in combination will make at least I expect it to make a really interesting combination of villains for this arc.
We've seen with Kaido before where he's, you know, when Jack invaded Zoe, he's willing to use gas weapons, chemical warfare. He's not shy about using, you know, taboo weapons to get the job done. So, like, that's where it's always been weird for me, because it's kind of been this dual characterization between like what Kaido says and what he lets his armies do. So he's got Caesar Clan making weapons for him, making these gas weapons, small fruits, sort of the cheap way out to a victory, and then he goes and talks about strength, which is, it's kind of been like a counter sort of, where's this character gonna end up to me?
Yeah.
Or it's
I
always
do
been
think-
like that from the start. But yeah.
Do you think that I mean, hopefully we get more Kaido insight because like as you said, like he has this moment with Odin, but then at the same time
Yeah, he's still
he
using
did
gas
go along
weapons,
with that
yeah.
5-year scheme to trick Odin and everything like that. So it's like he's obviously not like down the line straight honorable villain, otherwise he wouldn't do like most of the shit he does. But at the same time, like as like you said, he does seem to be impressed by certain
I
things.
feel what surprised me about both of them is that the flashback kind of seemed to imply that neither Orochi nor Kaido are actually interested in Wano itself. Like Orochi is just interested in like getting his revenge on the people of Wano and basically living a chill life, while Kaido also like he also like he doesn't really care what happens to the people. He doesn't really care what Orochi does with the country. Like there's like he wants to have Wano as a base that's like cut off from the world government, obviously, and like for the factories that are there, probably also like some unique resources that are there, like the drunken iron ore and stuff like that. But like both are really, there is like neither of the two really is like, oh, I want like Wano is important to me, I want to rule Wano. It's like for Doflamingo, for example, it was like, oh, this is like the Dressrosa is like my family's. It's like my death or like
Yeah.
my destiny kind
It's
of
my
to rule
birthright.
this country.
Yeah.
Exactly, my birth. Thank you, my birthright to rule this. Well, for Wano, like both of them are just looking to exploit it in their own interest, kind of.
Well, I hope we get a Kaido flashback, and in that flashback, we get to actually see Kaido and Orochi form some sort of relationship, because we're still missing that key element to
I'm
understanding their
super
character.
interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
really don't know how all this started. Where did Kaido approach Orochi? Did Orochi approach Kaido? What's their deal between the two? Is it some sort of like you give me weapons, I'll protect the country, but also Orochi wants to destroy the country. It's kind of like there's so many questions up in the air about this
Yeah.
relationship.
What's like the real goal?
Yeah,
And
what's the real
also
goal? Yeah.
something that like interesting Revujo pointed out to me. I think last chapter was interestingly enough, like when we see Kaido, he has like this weird like punk outfit. Like he's wearing this weird punk outfit that like really fits well into like his image of like the rock
The
pirate,
crew.
I feel.
I think
And
it
now
fits,
like
it fits his image
yeah,
of
and
his
I'm
actual his own crew that also wears that shit.
yeah,
So like
exactly.
he doesn't
And now
wear
he
that
has like
anymore.
literally like in the current timeline, he literally has like done some like gone through some cultural appropriation, almost
Yeah, he's just
assimilation,
wearing
where he's
Japanese
wearing
gear.
like this
Yeah.
this like Buddhist traditional outfit, and he's like kind of accepted this role of like this deity. So that's really interesting to me, because like what was the like, if he doesn't care about the like, is there I'm just wondering what happened like in the 20 years since then to Kaido. I can't wait to get this part of the story, because I feel that there is something there where he appears to get stronger, appears to identify more with the country in a weird way maybe.
Yeah, I hope like I think just in general there's like a lots of spots that like we don't know if they're gonna be filled in. And I hope they are filled in, but then like it depends what Oda decides. Like, okay, for example, the old hag. I like the fact that Kaido killed her, because it added to Kaido's character. But I also thought that we were gonna get. I don't know about you guys, but I did think at some point we were gonna get like a little bit of insight into who the
Yeah,
Oh,
like
maybe
hag
like
and
a
like what their stories were. Those two of
look.
them.
Here's what I think is gonna happen. We're gonna get at some point, maybe end of the arc, maybe midway through the battle. I don't know. At some point, I assume we're getting a Ryuma flashback to when the borders were actually closed.
Oh,
and
you think
his
we're getting a
legend.
Ryuma flashback?
Because
That'd be so cool.
there's so many connections between Ryuma and the City of Gold and Odin talking about we close the borders for a reason. So that I think that reason has to do with Ryuma and his story. So if that's at the end of the arc to cap off the full message of Wano, I think that would be good, because Zoro's gonna give the sword back to Ryuma, visit his grave, and then we might get the flashback there. Maybe there's a poneglyph there. Robin reads it.
Didn't he
Of his
already
legend or
give back the blade though?
Yeah, he said he already gave back the blade, but he said he did want to pay respects to Ryuma. So he's on. So he will go there at the end of the arc at some point, right? Like, why say that if you're not going to go there?
Yeah,
I
for
think-
sure.
I think like, and then in that flashback, we might get more Kurozumi like lore on what they are, and if they're like this evil clan that like were out to destroy Wano from the beginning.
Yeah,
Like we might
I
get more of
definitely
that stuff
expect to
there,
get
but-
some more insights into Orochi for sure also.
Yeah,
like maybe
because
not as intensely as Kaido, but like to a certain degree for sure.
I feel like the Kurozumi kind of lore is so like weirdly like paper thin. It's like kind of looks like my grandfather was robbed for trying to take over the country, and the people of Wano, took it out on the family.
Well,
I feel like
okay,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like there might be a little more to that story, with Wano being such an important place and maybe some Void Century stuff there. So I don't necessarily know if it's just that reason. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's too unclear for it to be just that simple reason, because it's so left open to the interpretation there. Like, you can fit a lot of stuff in there. So maybe
Which aspect of it?
So we know that the Kurozumi clan is was one of the great powers of Wano that was a daimyo of one of the lands, and one of the Kazuki parents wasn't gonna have a child, and then they did, and then he got angry, tried to take it over, and then their name was dragged through the mud. What if that's more of a kind of hearsay reason why, and that maybe the Kurozumi clan had wanted to do something and achieve something in Wano that was sort of washed over by this bullshit reason? Like, there might be
that could
something
be it.
more. Yeah.
Because that shit happens a lot. Like, for example, I did like this flip on the Orochi, like who he is or his motivations, basically 2 chapters ago, I guess, because like we have got like Oda has played this up many times, the idea of like being punished for sins of the father or grandfather. Like Rebecca's entire story was that, Ace's story was that. So like now putting a villain in that spot was pretty cool, I thought. But
So if you
I do
look at-
think
yeah,
that like
if you look at
the
the
other
way-
thing, yeah.
if you look at the way Orochi has been told the story, it's from the Kurozumi perspective. So they're not going to exactly tell him that they were doing more dodgy stuff in the dark corners of Wano. Like there could be that kind of dynamic going on as well. Maybe to sort of flesh it out a little bit more, because it seems like it's a little bit cookie cut, a little bit not like Wano's such a rich place for history, and it's kind of just like this weird sort of offshoot kind of thing that happened.
I would say overall, so the Odin flashback overall, because this steps back a little bit into that, I guess. The Odin flashback overall, I thought was a mix of like moments that I really liked, like the last two chapters I really liked, and then the Roger Whitebeard chapters I really liked, and then some chapters that I didn't like as strongly. Definitely the two chapters before these last two chapters, basically. But I think stepping back from the flashback as a whole, the one thing overall that I felt was missing, like I was really excited when we started the flashback from Kinemon's perspective, and it started with the narration of something like this is the tale of like Wano back then or whatever. I was hoping that so many of the things that we're seeing today would be kind of like the holes would be filled in as to what it was like back then. As in, like I always thought that Fukurokujo and his ninja and stuff switching sides. I thought, for example, we would see that part of the story happen back then. I thought we would see these ninja before then. I thought Hyogoro leading the five families and stuff, like we saw, like, but it was more like a cameo. Like Hyogoro was a cameo. The few times he showed up, like I thought that we were gonna get a lot of these stories, and like the same with the five mob bosses that we saw today, like that were released from the prison. I just thought that we would see this whole cast of characters that are popping up in the modern day, and we would have seen sort of a larger story craft around them when we actually went back in time to Wano in the old days. But it turned out to be mainly Odin focused, even over the scabbards. So I guess my expectation was off there. But now I do feel like an opportunity was kind of lost to add more weight to all the characters today.
I kind of disagree to that, I feel, because while I agree that you could, like, while it would have been awesome to see some of these things play out in more detail and get some more information on certain things, I think we should still not go as far and like expect the full story arc out of this flashback. I think the flashback had a certain purpose, and I feel that purpose was like for me personally was definitely fulfilled. We got the insights we needed. Like we got the character of Odin introduced. There was kind of like a central puzzle piece missing for the current storyline to make sense. I personally definitely got the emotional impact of the flashback, like his death. In general, like I really like the way that Kaido and Orochi came out of this. I immensely enjoyed the Roger and Whitebeard part, even though that might have been the part that might have been a bit distracting from Odin's character as a whole. But I feel as a flashback arc, it was the longest in the history of One Piece, and it definitely did the job it was supposed to do for me 100%.
Well, like for me, like going in depth on like the Yakuza mob bosses isn't really necessary in my mind, because they remind you of like characters like the Supersonic Duck Squad from Alabasta. They're just there to do one thing they're gonna do and then go away. Like I don't think the mob bosses are like super important characters. Like
no, it's not as in it's if I can just elaborate, like it's not as in I expected to get story arcs for each of them. I just thought that there was because it felt like there was a lot of untold, like as we're going through Wano Act 2, it felt to me like there was a lot of untold story for a lot of these characters, right? And like, for example, Shinobu, we got that. Like Kinemon and stuff, like a lot of these characters we did get that, but then lots of these characters we felt like had a more interesting history to them, like Fukurokujo, obviously Shimotsuki, whatever, and the dog. Even
you can even look at the scabbards themselves, like Raizo.
The scabbards themselves, I've kind of removed them from the equation now, because now that's its whole own separate thing. But I do think that we could actually get more for the scabbards later on now. I felt like this was a very Odin focused flashback pretty much, but it just felt like there was like a sort of richer history to Wano that we would have seen interwoven into Odin's story, which I feel like it felt more like the characters we'd seen from before were kind of cameos, and it like Wano felt smaller than I would have expected, when in reality Oda had such a large cast of characters that could have featured or popped up and stuff
This
like
is
that.
what my problem was kind of with Act 2, right? Because we get all this introduction of all these like sort of minor side characters, hints of lore, like your what's his name, Hiro being the mob boss and his importance in Wano and his importance with the past with Odin, and then we get Yasui and his whole story and his death, and then we everyone's saying, well, just wait for the Odin flashback. It'll be fleshed out there. It's here for a purpose. Because in Act 2, to me, it felt like it was weirdly extremely fast and slow at the same time. And what I mean by that is, Oda was cramming a lot of characters into a short amount of space. So it bloated out Act 2, right? You could talk about the Udon prison scene. Some of them, you could say maybe, we don't necessarily need 5 mob bosses. You could say, do we really need Yasui in this story? And does his death really matter to the overall plot? Like, and then they're handled in a way where they're so fast paced, we can't really get a connection towards them. So it feels like a little bit of wasted time. And in this flashback, we kind of like see that the mob bosses really don't kind of matter, and they might get mentioned here or there, and then we see, like, even with the scabbers themselves, like, what's his name? Raizo, one panel. What's his name?
I wouldn't count the scabbards as much because
you think they'll get more. Yeah.
At this point, I strongly think they'll get more. Okay, maybe I'm wrong on this, so I guess that's not fair either. To say it's just that other characters I'm pretty sure won't get more, but I feel like the scabbards will at this point, just because it feels like their importance did actually elevate from the last chapter in my mind.
I just personally wonder when we. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think I'm just wondering when we got as a community, when we got from, like, because I remember like previous arcs, right? Just take the Alabasta arcs. We've been introduced to a lot of characters there, and I mean, I definitely wasn't around when that arc was happening, but I can't imagine that no one was going like, oh, well, we got introduced to this guy here who was like working for Crocodile in his casino. Like, what's his purpose? Why didn't we get more background story for his character? Or like, when are we gonna get the flashback of the history of Alabasta? Like, I understand, like, I personally am big fan of world building, and I definitely enjoy it when we get like a lot of small details for characters, for history of certain, like whether it be political, whether it be military, whatever. Like, I enjoy these kinds of things, but I also acknowledge that some characters are just in the story for giving character to the short story and characterizing the characters, the main characters around them. Like, Yasu was definitely a character that, even if maybe he didn't impact the current plot, he was definitely a character that shaped the characters he was interacting with. Like, he gave them a frame. So I feel like if that's a single purpose of a character, but it's well written and it's still an interesting character, I don't need like a deeper purpose if it just helps me get a perspective on the people we got so far.
Well, let me ask you this question, right? Because with Yasui, like specifically, like what was the grand reveal with his character? It was the smiles have a side effect that make these people laugh, and they can only express one emotion. And look how bad Orochi is, right? Look how bad Kaido is, right?
Yeah, but
I feel
but
like
also, but he was also the type of guy who was supporting Odin, like when he basically didn't have too many other supporters, right? Like, I feel like, I mean, you can say, okay, was that crucial to Odin's storyline? Like, he probably would have survived on his own and stuff, but it was definitely like he was always symbolized, like, he was shown to be someone who understood Odin for who he truly was. Like, he was the one who said, oh, everyone thinks he's a fool, but I believe that he's actually, like, he's gonna be a great leader. And then when Odin comes back, he's the one who's like, oh, well, everyone else may have forsaken him, but I'm aware that he is doing something else. He's doing the stupid dance for a reason. So go for it.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you rewind for Yasu, for example, in the context, like, I guess it depends. If you look at his death in isolation, it's like, well, we didn't know him as well. I personally found it like a really good death because I felt like it was one of those deaths where you could have never read one. You kind of get the story of his life very quickly in that chapter, and I felt it was done kind of effectively. But like the main thing with Yasue was the idea was his death was kind of pulling back the curtain on what Wano was like before and how far it's fallen to now. Because we'd seen that, obviously. We'd seen Okoboroe Town, we'd seen all these villages and everything like that. But his death was the catalyst. His death was basically a scene explaining that this man was once a very respected noble class man in Wano, and now he's actually fallen to this or whatever, and his death ended on that kind of a reveal. And then from then on, if you read in the context of the flow of the story from then on, most of the chapters following that are revealing more and more of like, this was Wano before, this is Wano now, this is Wano before, this is Wano now. So his death was a catalyst narrative wise for kind of pulling back the curtain on how, because like the next chapter was the smile reveal, then after that was like
exactly.
the Udon prison mines, like what they were like before to now, then Ashura Doji recapping this was what happened after Odin left and stuff like that, and then Kawamatsu. So it was kind of a snowball that grew that sort of thing that Oda wanted to start building on. Basically.
And it's just like I said, like I feel a character can have a purpose without having an impact, like a lasting impact on the way the story progresses in a way. Like I feel some characters are just there to give characterization for a culture, for other characters around them. As you said, like with Yasuo, it was like he was, like you said, he was kind of this person guarding over Wano in a certain way. He was the one aware of what was going on. He was like the one protect or like taking the side of Odin, and like watching, like basically having that reveal and then seeing how he has failed in his task. Like I feel it gives a lot of context to a lot of the story.
Can I say so? Like Yasu, I don't think was done dirty in the flashback of Odin's flashback. Even if I mentioned it, maybe that wasn't fair or whatever. What I mean more so is that, and you're right, like it's a line between like, is it fair to expect X amount from this character or not? But for example, characters that I thought seemed to be having interesting histories that were being set up to be delved into a little more, like Fukurokujo and Hyogoro. Those two supposedly had, like, they were both under Odin's wing, but the fact that one of them went one way and one of them went the other, I thought that was a conflict that we were going to get a little more meat into.
For sure, dude.
In the
And
flashback.
I definitely agree, especially
Like,
Hyogoro. I can live with Fukurokujo. I like the way I took it is, since Oda didn't show us how he betrayed Orochi, I just took that as, okay, this is like this ninja squad. They're keeping Orochi safe, but by not showing us how they actually flipped sides, like Oda is basically telling me, okay, these characters exist and they're like, it's like kind of a shield and spy force in the country, but they're not really gonna have a deeper meaning. That's what I took away. With Hyogoro, I definitely agree, because Hyogoro has already, like, he's actually been in parts Luffy's mentor, coaching him. So not getting a bit more, I guess, background knowledge on his character, apart from seeing him in his prime, kind of. I do agree with you that would have been relevant, or would give a lot more to the story, because he actually is a character that actually did have a grave impact on the story by mentoring and coaching Luffy. So I definitely agree with you there, for sure. Chris, you want to say something? Sorry.
I've got a question for you both, right? Because we get that juxtaposition between Wano now and Wano in the past. Do you think it was a mistake having the factories built before Onan's death? Do you think that was a mistake on Onan's part? Because it kind of muddles the message a little bit in my mind. Because it sets up
Odin's part.
No, do you think Oda made a mistake by having the factories there before Onan's death? Because in my mind, like, it makes it kind of muddled and confusing, because we know that Odin was protecting Wano, protecting the land, and once he died, it all went to hell. But the factories being there and the forced labor and all the stuff Orochi was doing beforehand kind of muddles that message a little bit, if you know what I mean. Like, if everything was peaceful and fine before Odin's death, and it was only that way because Odin was holding up Wano with his bare will and dancing in the streets and that kind of stuff. And then after Odin's death, the factories are built, the waterways are polluted. Do you think that would have more impact than what we have right now?
I think
I would agree personally. Well, I'll just give mine, then you can follow, because we might differ on this, I guess. I would agree, just because what do you call? I did notice that throughout the community it did raise a lot of questions. And so like obviously it's not like, oh well, maybe some people just got it, like are thinking about it wrong or whatever. But I think if it's something where like there is potential for a large amount of readers to have a misconception about it, then I do think that maybe the author could have made it more clear one way, even though I personally didn't think that at the time. Like I thought that there was a clear line between. Okay, so spoilers for viewers, I guess. I am actually making an Odin video. I haven't made a video in like a long time, but I really liked Odin's character, and part like the end of the flashback I thought was a really strong end to the flashback. I personally preferred it to like Corazone's death because I don't know why it keeps getting compared to that. I've seen that on Twitter, for
It's
example.
because it's the most like recent mentor flashback kind of thing.
I
like,
guess, yeah. Corazone's death, this is a weird tangent, I guess. For me, when we got Corazone's death, I felt like we had kind of seen this before. We'd gotten that a few times before. Maybe that's not so. Like, it just didn't hit me as hard personally. But I know that that's a very popular death in the community or whatever. And it's hard to say. Like, I prefer Whitebeard's death to Ace's death. Some people prefer Ace's to Whitebeard. So that's personal, whatever. Odin's story and the way his story was done and the way his story concluded, I felt were pretty different, and I would expand on that in the video. How'd I get on this? What was I talking about?
You were talking about Wano in the past and how
the factories thing. Yeah. So I did think by the end of Odin's flashback, especially after last chapter, we understood that there's a clear difference between like Orochi, the like genocidal maniac who legitimately just wants to burn Wano to the ground, and what he was doing before, where he was literally like it was putting people to work and setting up factories, but he only had one person executed in that entire time. So it's the difference between like Orochi being a bad ruler, but Wano not being like an apocalyptic wasteland, versus if Odin wasn't stopping him. So I agree though that the factories are a strong visual towards making it feel like an apocalyptic wasteland. So
yeah, and
Oda maybe could have left that
Odin
out.
does comment that he turned Wano into a hellscape. He literally does.
I remember that
yeah.
quote, so I was like,
Yeah,
that's not. Yeah, it was a fine line, and
yeah.
Oda maybe played it a little too far with some people.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was clear by the end of last chapter.
Yeah,
that, like,
I agree with
yeah.
that. I'm just
Okay.
I'm,
and I remember we had
yeah.
this disagreement
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah,
Because-
sorry, O'Hara, long answer as usual.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say was like,
Wait, is
I just-
O'Hara muted?
He's
Yeah, I see him talking. So yeah,
yeah.
no, you're still muted, dude.
Dead air.
Christian, are you hearing him?
I can't hear him now. It's
Wait,
dead?
now.
Yeah,
Shit.
you're
Yeah.
good now.
Okay.
That was like
There we
6
go.
attempts.
It's like nothing and then shit. I was like-
Yeah.
I muted my microphone and then I just like
Mm-hmm.
tried pressing the button, but apparently it didn't work. I was like getting angry. I was like, stop talking over me.
No, we were.
It's like, stop ignoring me. Yeah. I guess just as a quick take on that, I personally definitely do agree with Chris that like it probably would have been, as a visual element, been a lot more impactful to happen after Odin's death, because as you guys said, it really does portray this apocalyptic wasteland, like kind of like Mad Max feeling almost, like with the Beast Pirates also. But then again, I feel like just from a logical perspective, obviously the factories are the biggest, if not the main reason that Kaido's there. So obviously, if Odin struck a deal with Kaido and
That's true.
Orochi, like that,
Yeah.
Kaido wouldn't take the deal. Hey, I'm like, just stay put for 5 years or whatever and do nothing here. I feel like the deal was based on Kaido getting his work done, producing his weapons, building his ships, and then getting out of there. So I feel like that was an active part that Odin accepted, that like basically, okay, I'm gonna protect the people and Kaido can build his army and then they're gonna leave, hopefully.
Well, the common thought around the community before we actually got what happened with Odin was that Orochi took the shogunate from him, and then somehow Odin had enough of him and stormed the castle, and then Kaido appeared and took him out. Like that was the major kind of like thoughts of the community of how this flashback would go down. And now we've got this like kind of like unclear alliance between Orochi and Kaido, and like they've been there for years, they've been working together for years, and Odin comes back during that partnership and messes it up a little bit. So like that's the thing, like it became complicated really for kind of like no real reason, because we don't know the history between Kaido and Odin, or Kaido and Orochi. So like we have all these moving parts now in this story where in the original, because the community normally goes the simple route when trying to explain things, right? So we know a few things about this flashback before we go into it, right? Like Kaido burnt down the castle, so we assume that Kaido came in the back and took him out, and that's how it happened. Like Kaido appeared and won the battle for Orochi, and then it was the beginning of the hellscape. Like that was the original kind of idea in the community before we get this flashback, and now we have this like really complicated 5 year span of time with deals and alliances and certain degrees of tyranny and all this kind of like complicated storytelling when I don't necessarily know if it had to be that way, if you know what I
Oh,
mean.
well, that's different though, because that's like that's, and this is gonna be like maybe an unfair answer, basically, but like, um, we we don't know what the theme that well, I think I have some takeaways personally, basically, but there was an idea behind what Oda did with Odin, right? Like, there's no reason like him doing the 5 years loop and everything like that.
Self-sacrifice kind of hero motif
Yes,
kind of thing, yeah.
but that has to play a role into what the general idea of the story is overall. So I think when we see what Luffy and the Straw Hats go to, that should, if Oda had a reason for this, that should carry a lot more weight based on what Odin's story was.
Right.
And I personally have some takeaways from that, that I guess I would have to spend a while talking about or whatever. But I do think that it's one of those things where like we get a lot of ideas coming out of Odin's backstory. And then I think whether like what Oda's gonna paint as like was bad decisions or good decisions, or where exactly was the flaw in
where
Odin.
did Odin go wrong? Where Luffy's
where did
right?
Odin go wrong?
Yeah.
Because Oda clearly portrays Odin as noble, but then there's different spots that Oda could portray Odin as wrong. Was it that he always wanted to do everything himself?
Right.
'Cause that is like a very
I
consistent
think there's
trait for
definitely a
Odin.
lesson there.
There is that, but I think
For
what
sure.
the main takeaway will be more clear as the arc goes on.
Yes, I do agree.
Because that's what will be harped on basically. Or the other flaw could be that Odin was a soft-hearted type leader, and he like parallels Vivi and Riku a lot in that, but we expect different of him because really he's not Riku. He's more like a combination of Kiros and Riku. Like he's strong, unlike those other leaders, so we expect differently of him.
I would
Yeah.
I would say that there, like, I took it from the beginning, kind of like as soon as it was clear that Odin was about to be this tragic character, like despite all the power, like traveling with the strongest pirate crews and like gaining this enormous level of power, despite had that, like he chose without blinking, he chose to simply let all that go and like make a fool of himself to basically protect his people. So I definitely I feel Oda's going for a point here where he's like, you can go wrong even if you do the noble thing, kind of.
Yeah, and he does that frequently. Like lots of times, like Hirulook's death. Hirulook did the noble thing, but it was the stupid. Like Oda does that frequently.
Thing, yeah.
But it just, and it's actually a lot of characters who they know, like Bellamere and her kids. Like that scene ended with basically Bellamere saying, "I can't pretend that I don't have kids, so this money is going to go towards my."
It's the noble thing, but it's a stupid.
It's always
thing.
the noble thing, but it's a stupid thing. I do understand that people feel like Oda went a bit too far in this case, when like people feel like, well, there's objectively a better thing that Odin could have done. And like, well, I think the difference is that people are like, look, it was the same result anyway in the end. So Odin didn't.
Well, that's a tragedy. Yeah, that's a tragedy.
Yeah, that's the tragedy of it. So it depends, I think, a lot of how Oda's going to write it from here on, basically, and how we're meant to view Odin's story from here. Obviously, he was a tragic hero in that sense.
I have to say that I mean, I guess you could fuck it up, but I feel like the story is so strong at this point, and I trust in Oda that much that I feel like as long as he gives us some lesson out of this for Luffy to pick up on, or for the Straw Hats to pick up on, I'm happy with that. Because I feel like there's you would really have to fuck this up to get this wrong, I feel.
If it's just a random story, then I don't think it was a fitting story for the, like, it doesn't.
I mean, Big Mom's amnesia plotline exists for some reason, so, you know. Whatever you want to say about that.
I don't know. Okay, so I was, to be fair, it was like one of these parts of Wano that I had some faults with, but I definitely didn't see it as critical as some people did, because I still think there is going to be a payoff for this. I mean, I think we've spent a lot of time on this topic. I still expect a payoff, and if that payoff is never going to come, like if Big Mom traveling with Chopper and everything and like regaining her memory, like keeping her memories of traveling with Chopper and everyone, if this doesn't pay off ever in this arc, then I'm gonna admit
How
that this
about
was a
Phoebe?
really that this was a really stupid thing. But I still expect this to play into like I still expect a scene where Big Mom is basically ready to give someone in the Straw Hat crew the death blow, kind of, and then this comes back in, like that this memory of her actually being treated well and like being like.
But here's the thing with that little segment: was she treated well? Because Chopper was literally using her for her strength alone. Like she wasn't being treated well at all. Like
the
Chopper,
human batter grab.
yeah, Chopper was just using her for her strength.
I'm not
like
sure if
everyone
that's
else did.
fair, because I think Chopper was like he was definitely
He wasn't trying
like
to treat the
taking her
amnesia.
along,
Like,
but like it was not that Chopper was going like, oh, like I found unconscious and amnesia having Big Mom, like, oh, let's like wouldn't it be a great idea to use her to break out Luffy? It was rather that he was just being very obviously and logically careful being around her. But then I still had the impression, me personally, and please correct me if you felt differently, but I still had the impression that while Chopper was definitely scared and careful, he still like he and like especially the group who weren't aware that she was a Yonko definitely treated
Tama
her
and
with
Momonosuke,
kindness.
Yeah. Well, I think Tama is the one who treated her the most with kindness. Chopper kind of looked kind of bad during this segment because he's supposed to be a doctor and he's just not treating the amnesia at all.
Yes,
He's just like, oh, let's just use her. I'm like, all right, Chopper.
But to be fair, Chopper also was the only one who actually knew who they were dealing with. Like Chopper literally fought Big Mom.
I just feel like it's a little conflict for his character because he's the doctor, he's the noble Chopper, and then he doesn't.
And it's kind of interesting because I feel like now that you mention it, it kind of like carries over a bit the theme of Whole Cake Island, which was like Sanji being conflicted in his ideals between like his nobility and at the same time like protecting his crew and shit.
I don't want to get off topic, but I think Big Mom's like main theme is that she's like this almighty powerful being that just keeps on getting manipulated and used for other people's gain. Like you see that with Struzan in her flashback and things like that. You see that.
That's a good possibility.
You see that with Paraspero in the current day, like him trying to get her on track and get the cake so that they can survive. And then you see it with Chopper again. Like she's in a vulnerable position, and people just constantly keep on using her for her strength. It's kind of like no one cares about her, and they just use her for her strength. But like going back to like Wano and the topic of Wano, I feel like during
that was a good point about Big Mom. Like I'm gonna keep that in mind because I actually hadn't thought about that.
Because the point, the thing I picked up from Wano Act 1 and Act 2 is the main theme of Wano in my mind is that it's tradition versus progress, because you have opening the borders as the main goal of the arc, which is to open the borders to let new ideas into Wano to free it from its traditional grip. Women can't be samurai. The samurai code being kind of wrong with. You see the nobility of Onin being wrong, and you see the pollution that's happening in Wano because it's closed off. So it's kind of got that like open up the borders, get fresh ideas in, that kind of lose the traditional nature of Wano in that kind of way. And we don't really like the problem with it. Like I thought we were gonna get more on opening the borders, what that means for Wano, and what that means to Odin, and what that means for Orochi. Where we really didn't get that with this flashback. It's kind of strange to me because during Act 1 and Act 2, every time Odin is mentioned, he's always mentioned with the fact that he wanted to open up the borders. And I get that has to do with voice entry stuff, and we'll probably get that, end of arc when they actually open up the borders. But I think it's extremely important, even if we don't get the voice entry take on what that actually means, I think it's extremely important we get the thematic take what opening the borders means for Wano and the people of Wano. Because right now it's kind of like, let's just open the borders so a mystical being can come in and fix everything. That's what it kind of feels like. There's no real like political or thematic kind of thing about opening the borders, which I think is important for this arc for us to really get the point of Wano, which we're not really getting right now. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree.
Yes.
But I don't think that's okay. I disagree that that's the main theme of Wano, but I do think that that's one thing that has been.
It is a theme.
That is definitely a theme of Wano.
Well, what do you think the main theme of Wano is? Because I'm kind of struggling.
That's one
with
of
that.
I mean, so I did a video at the end of, I want to say, close towards the end of Act 2 or something like that, where I went over many things that seem to be taking shape, but I still feel like the actual theme of Wano, and I felt like Odin's backstory is like one of the last pieces to really understanding what the whole arc is about. But then one of the other reasons that I feel like we haven't really gotten to the climax of the arc personally is because that hasn't taken shape as clearly yet. Because it's a lot of things potentially in the works. So you could say loyalty, faith, passage of time. You could say
reliability
on
your
you could
subordinates.
say
Yeah.
there's like a what it takes to be a good king. There's like a lot of things that were taking shape earlier and aren't as strong now. But now Odin's kind of introduced his whole other realm of ideas or possibilities, because I don't know how that's going to take shape basically. So what Wano's main theme is right now is hard to tell basically, but there's a lot of things, ingredients in the pot. I do think that there's like a larger idea that will take shape by the time we get to the actual climax.
And I feel this kind of mirrors to a certain extent the entire storyline, because while there definitely are, I mean, you do a lot of videos on that, Morj, there are definitely visible themes in the story, like that go throughout the story, like freedom, friendship, and so on and so forth, of course. I feel or maybe you have a different take on this, but I feel personally it's really hard to tell what the big theme of the story is, and I think that will probably also stay hidden until we go into the final, in the end game of the real end game of the story.
Oh, you're saying One Piece, the
What's
story
the lesson
of One Piece?
Yeah, what is the big lesson of One Piece? And I feel like obviously we will not be able to I'll not be able to say what that is until we got the result
I'm
of
pretty sure that's going to be
basically
freedom,
Luffy's
though.
journey.
I'm pretty sure that's
It's
gonna be
freedom, but it's
It might-
complex.
it
Like I
might
do have a
be.
video on that right now. It's freedom, but it's a more complex idea of freedom
I
than
hope
I
it's
think people
I hope
usually
it's
give it.
anarchy freedom and not some fucking world government dragon took over because he's the good guy bullshit. I hope it's
No,
like,
that's not.
yeah.
I mean,
No, I mean,
hope-
we're
yeah.
literally like talking over. Yeah, I mean, freedom is definitely like one of the top contenders, but there's definitely other themes that might also crystallize to be like the dominant one, and I think it's still hard to say right now because I feel a lot of that will actually be dependent on how the story resolves in the end and like
Well,
what
yeah.
direction we're taking.
I feel like, well, One Piece, it's a pirate story, so the idea of freedom comes through that pirate lens of we're free on the seas, we do what we want, but we have our own codes. We look
But like
after
that
our
can't be the
crewmates.
vision for that can't be like the vision. You know what? Like my thing is like if it's freedom, that will still, like Morch says, there has to be nuance on that because well, obviously we're saying like the freedom of the pirates with Luffy. Like Oda clearly also shows us the bad side of pirates, and like I think that the message of the story can't be, oh, in the world I imagine as an author, like me as Oda, like the world I imagine as it should be from this bad world should be that everyone should be a pirate and roaming on the seas. Like I doubt that
Well,
that's the message.
there are there's a school of thought of about anarchy freedom, which is like basically just piratism and how that works in the grand scheme of the world. I don't know if it's necessary to like, you can't really say that that's like a bad idea because like it's like imagine communism, imagine the opposite side of communism. That's basically anarchy freedoms, right? Which is basically
I'm not
no
sure. I
government,
think anarchy
no
is the
rules.
opposite of having any sort of governmental
Exactly.
institution.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen at the end of One Piece. Dragon's not going to take over and be like, I am now the king of the world. I'm going to run it properly. Like,
I don't think
that's
so.
gonna
I don't
disagree.
think it's. I think it's
that
Vivi.
I think that the
Personally,
revolutionaries will. I'm definitely sure that there is going to be some sort of governmental institution. The question is, will that be like literally like similar how people with Game of Thrones speculated, or will that be democracy? Like, will the world government be broken down and like the people will actually choose their leaders, or will it be like someone like Vivi stepping in and becoming the new like smart or like knowledgeable leader of the world? But I don't think that it's gonna be like everyone for himself. You're free to do what you want, but like you're also on your own. I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
Let's break this down, right? Because the world government right now, in the eyes of the world, is run as a democracy with kings going to the revelry and placing bets on what they want to happen and things like that.
But like that's not really a democracy, is it? It's a meta democracy where like dictatorships are basically
it's a world. It's basically like it's a world government, and the people who are in the seats of power don't change. So like, they have a responsibility for their countries, but they don't really have to do that. and they get to vote on world events, world things. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get
It's
too.
really the fact that the world nobles can do whatever, right? So if
I
a
don't wanna
world
get-
noble
yeah.
says, "I don't want this anymore. I want this country gone," then it's gone.
I don't want to get. I
regardless
don't
of-
want to get too political on the show, right? But it's
Yeah.
basically the EU, right?
No, let's
Because it's
get
run
political.
by. It's an organization like having massive say on Europe.
Is
with-
it?
with
Because I'm not sure
representatives
if that's a fair
not elected.
comparison.
No, but
Like-
Christian, in this, there's like a secondary body called the World Nobles, which basically make it so that
There's a
the
difference there, yeah.
actual voting EU body
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
Plus
at the
there
end
is
of the day.
this-
like they're talking
plus
about
there
a
is
great
this
purge right
hidden-
now.
Plus, there is like, I mean, good point for everyone who is like following a lot of conspiracy theories. But like, there's basically this character who in the who's ruling everything from the shadows without anyone knowing. Plus, I think the difference is like, I guess. So first of all, it's a fake democracy in that sense that there is this hidden ruler and the nobilities like the celestial dragons, but also like the leaders who are coming together of all these countries, like they are not like they themselves are not
But I think
democratically chosen.
Look, I think it's a bad message for having. The problem is the people at the top rather than the problem is the system itself. Because over generations, you can have bad people take power in your system. The system has to be properly run and controlled. Because the world government might not have started as this this world dominating power. It could have started as the democracy that we all know from like the real world or whatever. And then Aimu takes over from the shadows and is controlling it with the celestial dragons. But if you just remove the celestial dragons, remove Aimu, that situation can happen again. You haven't really fixed the issue. You've just prolonged the issue.
I'm
you know
not
what I
sure
mean.
if that's
Kristen, what you're I think you might be looking for more so like exact. I don't think Oda's ever going to give an exact. He's okay. So there's a difference, right? Did you guys freeze for me? No, you're not frozen, right? So to me it comes down to Dressrosa because Dressrosa was very heavily pushed as basically being an example of the world in miniature, right? So with Dressrosa, the idea that Oda was pushing throughout it was that basically the best king for Dressrosa was King Riku. But King Riku was a weak king because he never was actually able to enforce a lot of his power, was easily toppled, stuff like that. But the people still viewed him as a good king. That's kind of an idea that Oda pushes throughout the story, that the perfect form, like there's some sort of a sweet spot of balance where you need some rules and you do need some sort of a leader, but it can't be some sort of authoritarian leader that it forces its will upon everybody. I don't think Oda is ever going to say like, well, this particular political system is the answer to my beliefs, because One Piece is a romance. So what he's trying to create at the end of the story is a more romantic, not realistic type world. Probably his ideal of a world of like, look, the world is happy in the end because X, Y, and Z has like it's taken this sort of shape. But I don't think you would be satisfied in that like, oh well, this is clearly a political system that's gonna sustain itself over the next like 200 years. You know what I mean?
Because like Dragon,
Does that make sense?
To me, it all relies on Dragon because he is the political ideology of Oda, right? Because he's the one trying to take down the world government. So he has
He
to
is.
have.
don't
But we
Like,
don't know what
we
his
don't know what
exact-
Exactly.
like
We don't know
yeah
what he
we
He
don't
might
know
be a
what the
madman,
revolutionaries
for all we know.
actually plan to
Yeah.
do. Like, do the revolutionaries just do they just like take down the government and then it's like, okay, like you guys are free now, like figure it out yourself? Or is it like we just want to improve the system, or we want to change the system, or we want to like abolish the entire system? Like I feel like there's a lot of nuance to that, important nuance that we just don't know yet.
One thing they said specifically was they don't. Sabo was like, we don't. This was a surprising quote to me at the time. But it was like,
something
we
about
don't.
pirates, right? Or was it?
No,
No?
it might have been the chapter that the revolutionary commanders were introduced. It was like, we don't want to take down the the world government. We want to take down the world nobles or something. So I don't know how consistent that's going to be
But
over
if you
time.
look, if you look at the introduction of the commanders of the revolutionaries, you got what's her name, fucking Bello Betty, the cheerleader girl. She's basically saying, "We will give you the inspiration to fight for your own freedom," which is more of a kind of what I was saying before, with more of a open-ended view of freedom, which is complete freedom, which is, you can break that down in multiple ways. So the revolutionaries always confuse me because it's like, on one hand, they're supposed to be this like major force in the end game, but we don't get anything from them, and when we do, it's kind of like Zabo saying things like that, and then Bella Betty coming in with her own statements, which kind of like confuses it a little bit for me.
But I think I don't know. I don't know if those are like mutually exclusive statements, because wanting to fight for, because being oppressed by the world, nobles as it is, or being under the thumb of the world government as it is, you can fight against that for a better system, basically. Like that's usually what, like when rebellions happen and stuff, it's not so that people are like, well, there's no more government in the end after it. Like that never happens. The rebellions are always to put something better in place. So I don't think those are different.
Well, they go, get rid of a king, put a democracy in, right?
I don't know exactly what, because Oda doesn't even seem to be against the idea of kings. He likes the idea of like the Cobra family, the Riku family. I think what he's just pushing for is like a more romantic
because
world.
that's what I mean when I say what's the real theme of One Piece, because like Oda gives us a lot of different shadings on a lot of different concepts. We have good marines and bad marines, and like
Good
marines
pirates, bad
somewhere in the
pirates,
middle,
yeah.
and we have
Yeah.
good kings, bad kings, and kings somewhere in the middle, and we have good pirates, bad pirates, and like pirates that are somewhere in the middle. So like the message there, of course, is like, okay, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It like rather depends like what you like, what take you do. Yeah, like it can be like it can like obviously being a government can be a good thing, but only if you act in the right way. Same as like being a pirate can be a good thing, but only if you act in the right, like, these types of takes. So I still think that, because that's like the premise of like writing fiction, is like still most authors still put some of their own personal idea for like what's my ideal world gonna be like in there. Like whether the hero is gonna achieve that world is a different question, but like he definitely has an idea for how society should be like. And I feel Oda has so far in the story just shown us that obviously there's not this one good, like good bad, like pirates good, world government bad, or the other way around, but there's like nuance to it. But I still expect there to be at the end of One Piece that there's either, I mean, it's possible that Oda goes the way and says like, okay, well, Luffy failed and like the world sinks in chaos, like whatever. I don't think that. But I do think that at the end, if there's a stable system and people actually do live in freedom and happiness, that Oda is going to introduce a system that he personally believes would work in that world.
I just think that that's not a, like, because I think Oda has already given us examples of what he views as ideal nations. So like Skypiea with Gonfall in charge, Dressrosa with Riku in charge. These are all nations that he portrays as like ideal nations. They're just not realistic. So that's, to me, that's always the split. I don't think Oda is ever going to come up with like the perfect governmental system. I think
where do you take away that, like, but wait, like I do see like obviously there's systems that are portrayed as good because they have a kind leader, but at no point did I personally take away, like, where did you take away that Oda portrays this as his ideal of how a country should be run? Because I don't take that away from that.
Because that's like Dressrosa under King Riku is consistently portrayed as basically being like the ideal nation. Like I think that's general, and like Skypiea under Gonfall was basically portrayed as being like a conflictless, peaceful nation. Like the weakness of those nations, as it's pointed out, is like you need a strong ruler in charge to be able to enforce your rules. And that's kind of where the reality of it comes in that you need people like a Luffy or a Kiros and stuff to come in and stop that sort of thing from happening. But in the ideal world, yeah, like the ideal world would basically be like no one can force their will on each other. Period, basically. But that's not a realistic world. I strongly
disagree with that, I think, with that view. I personally think that Oda is showing us that, like, no matter the system, if there's kind-hearted people in charge, the system can work, no matter if it's like a world government under, or like the Marines under Aokiji, might be Marines that actually are able to enact justice, just like a Luffy is able as a pirate to bring peace to islands, just as a King Riku or as Neptune is able to actually lead their people well. I don't think at any point that he says, okay, this is the ideal system. Like, you could also say, based on Luffy, since it's his main character, okay, Luffy is like the ideal, like, you need a kind-hearted leader who brings people together. Like, you could also say that's his ideal system. I personally think it's rather Oda showing us the different shadings of different systems, and then he will go to one point where he's like, I at least hope that there is more nuance to it, where he's like, okay, well, we know that, like, if we have a king, if it's a good guy, it might be super, like, the country might flourish, like under King Riku, but like if the next king, if the son or someone else takes over it on the same system is a Doflamingo, it will all go to hell. So I think that Oda is planning to introduce a system to us that he personally thinks is sustainable enough to deal with bad people coming in and like enables good people to come in. And whether that's democracy or a different kind of system, like I don't know, that's up to Oda, but I personally don't think, like, I don't see the vision. I don't agree with the nuance that Oda is showing us. Okay, the world should be like you said, basically, like Dressrosa being the miniature, like now under King Riku, that's how the world should be. I think I wouldn't agree with that stance.
I don't know. I think that that's just generally like what I've taken away from the series. Like there are clear systems where basically, okay, so if you go backwards, I guess I take it like, okay, so starting at the end point, which is that I think that One Piece, it's a story about dreams, and I think that the future that, or the vision that Oda has, is a vision of a dream world. I don't think it's ever going to be a realistic world, because I think frequently what's the conflict that's coming in between is like, ideally things should be like this, but realistically you need this. Like that's Luffy and Vivi's conversation in the desert, stuff like that. And generally what it comes down to is as I see it, what Oda believes a perfect world would be where everybody is free to do whatever they want, but nobody forces their will upon each other. That's his vision of an ideal world in my mind, and I think that is like everybody has their freedom, but nobody is suffering for their freedom because somebody else is forcing their will upon
So
them.
how's
But that's not a realistic world, and that's the type of, so those kings that are more soft-hearted, less controlling and stuff, they're frequently overthrown by people who want to control. There's no sort of perfect system to prevent this from happening. All we can have in the end basically is kind of
because then, okay, that's really interesting, because I feel like we have like really different
But if you look at all the motivations of all the villains, it's always god complexes. I was wronged by the world government. I was wronged by the world. So the stem of the problem,
I don't know, Blackbeard is
itself.
pretty much a Luffy. Like he wants to be free, right? He wants to do what he wants, and he's basically the
Sure,
bad side of this dream.
But Luffy,
he's the other far end, basically. Like,
yeah,
that's the point. I think it is a dream vision that Oda's trying to come up with. I don't think that there's going to be like some perfect like governance system. Like what Dressrosa ended in, which is meant to be a happy ending, is they've got Riku back in charge, and everybody's very happy that they have Riku back in charge, even if realistically he's not a militarily strong king. So I think basically if we get to a point where Luffy does liberate the world from all sorts of oppressive forces, then the world that is formed by the end of One Piece would say Vivi in charge or something like that. No greater authority controlling the smaller islands and stuff like that. That would be the ideal world that is formed. I don't think we're gonna have a specific like democratic system put into place or like a constitution that makes it stay that.
Do you think if it's like this is the UN, it has no power, but it's just an agreement between countries? Is that what you think is gonna happen? Like a UN situation?
I don't know.
I'm gonna give you a perspective like how I've seen it so far, and it's actually really interesting because I guess I've never like thought about it actively, just like believed it or like thought about it that way. So it's maybe interesting to talk about it, because for me, like when you say, okay, there's this conversation between Luffy and Vivi, and like there's this ideal system, but you're probably never going to get there. You're just going to get as close as you can, kind of. Like the way I took it personally, and like this is obviously I agree with you in the real world that there is probably no perfect system, but I say since it's fantasy, the way I took it is that Oda basically said the world was good and quote unquote flawless as long as the ancient kingdom existed, because this kingdom managed to create a system where the world was actually free and these people were free and it was safe. And then the world government came in as like, for whatever reason, for greed or power, and they destroyed this balance or this utopia that was existing in this world by some means. And then since then, even though there have been attempts made by individual countries and on small levels where there have been struggles to basically create freedom or peace, as long as the system of the world government exists, there cannot be true peace and true freedom in the world. That's how I took it. And so I personally thought that would mean at the end of One Piece, most likely that the system we had under the ancient kingdom will be in some way or form reestablished in the One Piece world.
Can I get my thought in real
yes,
quick?
Please.
And then
please, because I'm really curious, really curious.
That's a really good point that you did bring up, because the world got like the ancient kingdom times is at least fairly speculated to have been like the golden era of the One Piece world or whatever. But I think to me that just comes down to what's the most likely case? That they were a ruling power that had governing power, but chose not to abuse it. And that's the ideal world. And that's not necessarily a quirk of the system. That's more like a King Riku being in charge. That's like a Gonfall being in charge. That's like a Cobra family being in charge. It's the people who are in charge, I think, where they govern, but without abusing their power or controlling. I don't know if I feel like it's a quirk of the like who should be a good ruler, rather like what's the ideal vision of the ruling power in the world versus what's the system that makes sure that it stays that way. Because the fact is, the world government, I mean, the ancient kingdom was overthrown and stuff like. Oh well, that's not its fault, I guess. But yeah, Christian.
Yeah, just quickly, Chris, before you jump in, just
Sorry.
like one thing, I just want to make clear to like, I'm definitely not saying like what you're proposing is not gonna happen. Like, I definitely see that that's a way Oda could take the story. I'm just like, all I'm saying is I personally wouldn't like that way of taking the story, and I haven't seen it that way so far. But that's not saying I couldn't see that happening, because you're obviously correct that like these kingdoms have been portrayed in a positive way. But I personally actually have thought that like he's gonna try to basically show us all the systems that exist and introduce a better one. Sorry, Chris, you go. I didn't want to interrupt you.
So, if you look at the ancient kingdom, right, we know they had massive power and massive influence over the world, right? But their fall caused 800 years of oppression, right? So clearly, there has to be something wrong with that system, or it's just going to happen again. So,
what
you know,
you
what
mean
I
the system? But like, if this,
yeah.
how is something wrong with the system that? Because like the problem was not the system, the problem was the system failing, right? Or are you talking about the ancient kingdom or the world government?
Yeah, the ancient kingdom, right, had a system in place.
Yeah, and that worked apparently, no?
It worked for a certain amount of time, and then it fell to chaos for 800 years and was a hellscape for the world.
But we don't know why it fell. Like, was that like you know?
But here's my thing, right? If you look at sort of French literature and that kind of thing on sort of rebellions and what freedom actually means, like they always talk about how like there could always be a good king or a bad king, but the fact that there's a king always means that there will be a period of oppression, and therefore democracy will limit or reduce the amount of oppression that happens to the people. So I think if we go for again, it's never going to be perfect, right? We can all agree on that. Political systems are never going to be perfect, but I think like that kind of thinking is more of the way One Piece is going to end, where it's like, sure, we've seen good kings, we've seen bad kings, but at the end of the day, I think all kings will result in some sort of oppression in the timeline. Because you look at the ancient kingdom, right? They had control of the world. There was a golden age. It was all good, and then their technology was used against them. They were overthrown, and that power was used to create a dark period of history of 800 years of oppression. So if we just go back to the ancient history, we're just repeating a cycle. You know what I mean? We're repeating the cycle. We want to break free of the cycle that started in the ancient history. So I think if we sort of decentralize the world and everyone goes, you know, to their own countries and it's democracy run, and then there's a UN that overlooks countries that run by democracies, I think that's a better message overall for the story of One Piece.
I get what you're saying, but I'm not sure I would put the breaking point at the same spot as you did, because what you're basically saying is since it was possible for the ancient kingdom to be abolished, like there was a flaw with the system. Well, I'm rather taking it from the point that there was this perfect system and someone forcefully tore that down, that system, but we want to get back there.
But my thing is, right, the problem is the centralized nature of the system, right? Because it's all in one spot. It's all the power is held in one place, right? The world government.
But do we know that? Like, for me, we know, the ancient kingdom could just be the ancient kingdom. In my mind, could just be the entire planet being like they're actually being like individual countries like working together, just like organizing themselves in freedom and peace.
True. We don't know what the system
Like we
was in
literally
ancient
don't know.
history.
Like the system could be like one dominating force that was just like
Good, yeah,
keeping
a
the
good
world's
dominating
balance.
force, yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like that really depends on like what the ancient kingdom turns out to be, whether that's like one giant actual kingdom or a giant democracy or just the world, the One Piece world as a collective being stable and governed collectively. Like could be a lot of different
The
things.
worst case scenario in my mind for the ending of One Piece is that Dragon takes over the world government and he's the good
No.
guy, so it won't go bad. Like I think
I
that's
don't
the
think
worst
that
possible
that's
outcome.
dude. I don't think Dragon's story ends in
Definitely.
yeah,
ends in
maybe
death.
not trying. Okay, I think he'll be happy that the world government will not be a thing at the end. But I just look at Dragon and I see him wearing his dark clothes and his
You
his
think
like
he's a
tattoo
villain?
on his face.
What's going on?
I think no, not that he's a villain. I'm just saying like this doesn't look like a guy who's gonna get the happiest ending or
Okay.
whatever. Basically,
Well,
like
whoever
Also
takes over,
definitely-
Zabo, whatever, you know.
No,
Whoever
for
takes
sure.
over.
Yeah,
Sabo,
I
I
mean,
think, will get
the
a happy
reason
ending.
the reason why it's, for example, much more likely to have a VV as a future leader of the story in the story is like that is a character like obviously you need a character that's been introduced relatively early on in the story, and we also relatively early on know that this is a very competent person. So with the VV, it would make sense because we actually do know like that she's able to govern. We know she's a good person. We know that she is smart enough to govern. So whether like Morj says that will be in the form of Vivi actually being the new Emu, but like the good person and the right person to create
I don't think she's
actually
got Buster Call power. Basically,
to real
Yeah.
but like to bring real peace like we saw like in Dressrosa or in Alabasta, but on a big scale. Like whether it's that or whether it's the world coming together as a democracy and still electing Vivi as like their, I don't know,
I
president,
could see
whatever.
that too. Yeah, I haven't thought about it to that degree exactly what the final
State
the
of
final
world or
like
whatever, yeah.
state of the One Piece world
Yeah.
is. I just know if I had to think in my head, it's like, oh, it'll be good, right?
Yeah.
Everyone will be happy.
Yeah,
That's
everyone's
the
good. Yeah,
general.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is still the chance. I mean, we've talked about this previously. There's still the chance that Oda throws like a complete curveball, and like the ending of One Piece goes in like a completely different direction.
Yeah,
and
like
the focus,
it's the
the focus
dream
is
of
on
an
something
ancient
completely
being, and then it
else.
gets destroyed. I don't know. Some crazy
yeah, or
shit.
the focus might just not be
yeah.
that heavy on like what's the system, but the
Yeah, I
focus is
get-
rather
I-
on something completely different.
I've been talking about this for a while now.
Yeah,
With like, I've been talking about this with more, not with Morj, with Drit specifically, because he's like so focused on like the ancient history and like it's going to expose the world government as what they are and that kind of stuff. But I'm like, does the ancient history actually matter to the characters that are going to find it out? Like, if Luffy learns about the ancient history, does that change his mind in the fact that the world government's already doing bad things? So, like, how does the ancient history, like, turn everyone against the world government when everyone already knows the world government has things like slavery, has things like impel down, a completely immoral jailing system? Like,
I think the ancient history is rather gonna reveal how the world turned out to be the way it is.
but like, do you think that's a rallying cry to call everyone to
No.
attack the world government?
No, but I think
doubt
it's
But I
gonna
don't
be
think-
I think it's gonna hold the secret of how to tear it down, the world government.
well, the thing with the world government is that it's not overtly like we went 400-ish chapters through the series before finding out that the world government is really bad. So the world government in One Piece is actually done, I think, like, okay, I think it's like one of the best dystopias I've ever seen because it's the perfect example of like there's dark stuff underneath that's really, really dark, but you can travel through it for a long time and not realize that it's that bad because it's not painted as that bad for the longest time. In fact, it takes like a long time for us to, it's painted as not the best, but it takes a long time for us to understand because the world government controls all the information. So stuff like Ohara, that's them flipping it as there were demons on Ohara, we had to eliminate them. Like the vast majority of the world, and there's
They
like lots of
believe,
quotes
yeah.
showing this,
They believe in
doesn't
the world
realize the world
government.
government is that bad.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
take
yeah.
stuff like, so that's the point. But Kristen, so it's not that the ancient history will reveal that. At least last that I saw during the reverie, there was a very important quote from the Gorosei while they were walking around. They were basically saying, Alabasta's learned too much or something like that. The fate of the world, like things have come to a crucial juncture or something. It's time for a great purging. So I think that there will be a big reveal moment where the world government does start going into a certain attack-heavy mode,
like they
and
are
that
right
will
now,
be
yeah.
that will be
So,
concurrent with ancient history stuff being revealed, and it'll all come together at roughly the same
Well,
time.
if you look like the more we're hearing about the world government, the more we understand that the people of the One Piece world don't like them. Like we just recently found out about the heavenly tribute for like the people living in poverty because they have to pay this tribute, and the Navy not looking after them when pirates attack. Like we saw it on that whatever that island's called with Peachbeard and the Revolutionary Commanders. Like we know the population of the One Piece world has pretty big issues with the
I'm
world
not
government.
sure. I
varied.
might
It's
disagree
varied
with
though,
you.
because it's not such a black and white issue. Because
I agree.
for large part, like you can go back to Water 7 and there's lots of quotes like when stuff is happening to Tom, like, oh, why would the world government do something like frame somebody? Why would
Yeah.
like people believe that the world, like, it's at that sweet spot where people clearly, like, the world government is clearly not a good ruler to them, but the people still view it as their government.
I guess it's
So
a
like
basic-
they
that's the sweet spot
definitely-
area.
Yeah.
I think I also think that it's been portrayed that like many people, while they definitely don't like paying the money, like at least those countries that are relatively flourishing and like are easily able to pay that tribute, I feel like it's been established that those do view the world government as something that is bringing peace to the world, especially during the Summit War, where like people are actually
People wanted the
waiting
Marines
for
to
the
win
world
and stuff
government to
like
bring
that.
peace and like end Whitebeard.
I think it's, but again, I agree that it's not just the ancient kingdom history, because that's people finding out I feel like that's one of the big like I feel like it's concurrent. It goes hand in hand with whatever the world government making their big move, that kind of exposes them. So I think that there's a big exposing moment, and I think that happens with like a lot like Dressrosa. Everybody thought that Doflamingo was a great ruler until there was a big exposing moment that people realized all of the stuff that he'd done, basically. I think that's going to happen on a larger scale, essentially.
Okay. Well, let's bring it back to the chapter, right? What do we think about?
Oh shoot!
What do we think about Luffy being this kind of deity figure that we keep on getting now? What do you guys think about this? Because it's already keeps on saying someone will appear 20 years later to finish this mission of the ancient history. We have to be ready for him to work with him so we can do it. Like, what do you guys think about this Joy Boy reincarnation sort of situation? What do you guys think about that?
I personally do not like reincarnation. Like, it depends how Oda does it. If it's more so like, one, if Luffy's a literal reincarnation of Joy Boy, like the same person born again and again, I would be very happy, because to me that kills a lot of the idea of inherited will, because inherited will, inherited will is such an awesome idea for this story to be built on. Like, it makes it such a, like, it makes it perfect for lots of like emotional heavy flashbacks and stuff, and like a lot of like one theme carrying through the entire story. But inherited will dies as a concept if it's just the same person literally being passed, like reincarnating over and over. So I don't like that. I also don't like the idea that Luffy is kind of pigeonholed into this. I love the idea that there's a prophecy or a belief that one day, 800 years of will be passed down and somebody will come pick up that mantle. And Luffy happens to be the person who's capable of picking up that mantle. I view that as different than saying 800 years from now, Luffy will do this, if that makes sense.
Now, that's kind of my take on that is what your take is more. It's more of the Luffy will fill the role that people think will happen. It's not like Luffy is literally the reincarnation of this great person that was destined to do all this from the start, and that nothing that Luffy did actually mattered because he was always destined to do it. Like, I don't think that's what's gonna happen. Also, like, we know the future isn't set because things like Future Sight exist, and Capone says you can change the future. So like
they say it like all the time. They're like, I saw a pretty bad future. I got it. Yeah, like, so that's a common theme of it. So I do think that Oda could be setting us up to believe one thing, but actually go like a fresh direction.
Because also at the end of the chapter, it makes it seem like it's a collection of people. Like this group of people will turn up to save Wano and do it. More like not necessarily one. And if you really think about it, both Luffy and Law are the ones who started this war. It's not just Luffy. Like there are people. It's an alliance. There are people involved in this situation. So like, will Luffy turn out to be the man who takes the title of Joy Boy? Probably. Like, yeah, probably. But like, there are people around him also with the Will of D. We know Law already has the Will of D, right? We know that. It's probably going to turn out Kid has also a D. And
I hope Kid is not a D, by the way, personally.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking like in a kind of story way, like 3 Ds will appear to take down Carter and like open up Wano's borders.
Well, Yeah, I guess my take on it, like, I definitely agree that I would be very disappointed if it was like a literal reincarnation thing. But I personally still believe this is about inherited will, and I also,
Yeah.
to a certain degree, hope at least that Oda introduces this prophecy stuff so Luffy can break it to a certain degree or fulfill it in a different way. Like, I
That's what
still,
Luffy does.
yeah,
I agree.
exactly.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, there exists this expectation and this has to be done, but then, like,
Mhm.
kind of like fuck prophecy, and Luffy does it his own way.
Also, with this prophecy thing, it makes it seem like even more so that opening the borders is a physical thing. Like, it has to be something physical. Like, it doesn't make any sense if it's not physical, because it's just like talking about a concept. Like, we have
Yeah.
to conceptually open Wano's borders.
I
like-
guess it has something to do with the weather, no? Like with the
Weather and
currents.
the cliffs and the lower Wano back into the
Because like the
ocean or some
currents are
shit,
the
yeah.
because like once like if the ocean was calm, you could just go through the waterfall into Wano. Done. Kind of, no?
But there's still a barrier
Like
there.
the
So I
weather.
think- yeah.
But it's literally said that the
yeah.
weather is the
Is the issue.
big issue with Wano.
Well, I think Wano being raised in the ocean is kind of like a metaphor for the Red Line as well, because they're both raised out of the ocean. They're both massive barriers. They both have things on top of them that are sacred and that, it's hard to get to and that are separate from the world. So I think it's kind of like a parallel to the Red Line. So, because there's definitely ancient history shit on Wano, right?
Yeah.
So I think the same technology that made the Red Line also rose Wano out of the ocean.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
actually really interesting.
Hmm.
So the same
So
technology.
you think
might be
Wano
used
will
to
literally
roll-
go back into the ocean?
Yeah.
Like it will
I think-
literally become another
I
island
think
again?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. Because like
'Cause it's both.
it
It's
just
both
fits.
like you can't just have a symbolic opening of the borders. There's
No,
real,
yeah, I
like,
agree with you
impact
there.
Like, there's no, yeah.
The only thing where I feel that there must be a difference to the red line is that like Wano, like opening the borders, if that means actually lowering the entire country down, like Wano still has to be an island. While lowering the Grand Line doesn't change shit, only that like there's still it's still separating the sea. I mean, you can cross it more easily, but like the red line
Well, if
actually
they
has
lower
to
it-
sink
lower
into
it-
the ocean,
Yeah,
no?
they lower it, sink into the ocean. Yeah, that's more what I meant. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think, like in the grand scheme of things, I think Uranus is a terraforming weapon, right? Like, ancient weapon, the terraformer. So that's how the world's been made, and that's how
That's
Wano was
actually
raised and
very,
shit.
very yeah, that's very likely.
Yeah.
I
'Cause we
like
need
my
s- yeah,
theory,
we need
but I
something like
agree that fits a bigger missing hole in
Yeah.
general. But I still like my theory. I'm gonna stick with my theory.
Okay, you stick.
Okay.
with
Do you
that.
guys want to
Let's
do questions,
slowly-
by the way?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean,
Oh
we
no, go
talked-
ahead. Whatever you guys were saying a second ago.
We basically
Oh.
talked about every aspect of the chapter now. Like,
We
Yeah,
kinda
let's slowly
didn't,
move towards questions, no?
but yeah. We talked a lot off topic, but yeah, I think just time wise, let's talk about the questions real quick.
Yeah. You want to pick something?
Yeah, Christian, you want to pick?
how do I pick
Christian
questions?
can pick.
So go to O'Hara's tweet.
They're on my Twitter.
Twitter.
Okay.
Wait. Let's see what we
Sure.
got. Prepared.
See, on our show, we reread every question. So no
Yeah,
choosing.
good luck with that. I I still have to do some studying.
All right. Let me turn on.
Oh.
Let me turn on some
yeah.
Wi-Fi. All right.
I'm gonna sleep soon.
Let's see.
Do you just
what
want to
we
go
got
Morj until I
here.
find it?
Oh yeah, sure. For a second, I thought you meant go as in like leave, like because I just said
Go.
I'm sleepy. You're like,
Just
you just want to
go,
go.
Morj.
It's like no, I can hang. I can hang around till the end of the podcast. Shit. Okay. Marshall D. Jake asks, "What other familiar devil fruits would you like?"
Go.
What?
Go. Okay. Oh, okay.
Guess I'm done. Enjoy the rest of the
Just, like,
podcast.
leaving the
Marshall
podcast.
D. Jake asks, "What other familiar devil fruits would you like to see being used by a character from the past?" That's a weird question, just because it's like most devil fruits. I guess.
I guess.
Like yeah, any devil fruit.
Oh, the obvious
Like, very,
answer.
very-
I think the obvious answer is the gum fruit, just to like get the history of that.
Oh,
but, like,
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. It'd be so weird if like
Though to be honest, I
Kindness guy
actually
had it.
don't like. I'd rather prefer it if the Gumga like. I mean, obviously, it would be cool to see like, oh, like I don't know, like Rocks had the gum fruit or like some shit, and like, oh yeah,
oh
Luffy
that'd
has
be
it.
wild if Rocks had the
Luffy
gum
Luffy has like inherited this powerful fruit from this powerful guy, but I think it's so much nicer to see like Luffy succeeding by having this kind of random looking fruit. Like it's like, oh, like there's the Logia lava fruit and the Logia ice fruit and the darkness fruit, and then you have like the main character who is literally like made of rubber, which is like like now that we see what Luffy can do with it, it's really cool. But like when you just hear the concept for the first time, it's like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. So I think it's like nice that we see a character exploring this apparently weak fruit and like actually turning it into something awesome. I think
Yeah,
that's a nicer
I'm just,
concept.
the character doesn't have to be some legendary character that also had it. It could be like just a random.
You mean just a
like,
random
I'm just
guy?
more interested in the lore of it than like the actual like guy. Like where,
Yeah.
like who else used it?
You
Did they use
mean-
it differently?
Yeah,
Like,
you mean with the Kurozumi, like you have the woman with the face fruit, and then like the guy with the berry fruit, and then there's just like this random derpy guy, like Orochi's cousin, like
Yeah, with the
bouncing
gum
around
gum.
in the background
Yeah.
with the gum fruit.
yeah, completely not using it at all. Yeah. All right.
Right.
I got a question from friend of the show, Silvers.
Oh yeah.
Right. Given how things have been going, do you think the Marines showing up would help the arc or further bring it down? In your opinion, do you think the Marines are showing up and will it help the arc? Well, the
I
Marines
think
are
it
already there
helps.
in a kind of way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it helps because just the scale. Like Wano has a really big conflict going right now. But it's different than the Marine Ford conflict where like Marine Ford was so beautiful because it was characters that we had been individually hyped up for over like a massive scale, like Mihawk and then Aokiji, then Kizaru, then Doflamingo, then Kuma. Like every single character that we had been individually hyped up for over like 500 chapters worth of storytelling, like all of them were put into the same ballpark, and then we get Whitebeard out of nowhere with like all these strong fighters who were getting it. Like that's what made it so exciting. With Wano, we've got a big cast, a really exciting cast, but we don't have as many of the, like, besides Kaido and Big Mom. I think those are the kind of two like really spicy names that we've got right now. But I think throwing in a lot of the Marines would really get it back to that, like topping Marine Ford, like because Marine Ford is not just about the numbers, right? Like Wano has more characters, obviously, but it's
Well,
it's
I'll chuck in. Do you think the warlords are also turning up to Wano? Do you think it's possible? Boa.
I don't think all of them, but
Buggy.
maybe selective warlords. Also,
Yes,
I would put the nuance on it that I think the Marines should come to Wano, but I don't think they should come to the Fire Festival. I personally, I think I've said this a couple of times. Like, if the Fire Festival is like not the final big battle of Wano, I would like it to have the Fire Festival be like the conflict, the like the island specific, arc specific conflict, and then the final like conflict in Wano being like on the greater scale towards Marineford.
Ohara, would you like it if in my mind like if I'm imagining continuing down my headcanon, which is all that it is, that Fire Festival ends in some sort of big, like, it doesn't work out for the protagonist.
Yeah.
In my mind, the way I kind of just assumed was that their only get out of jail free card for that would be a third party, such as the Marines coming at the
Jinbei.
tail end of it. Jinbei's not going to stop 2 Yonko crews, so like I'm saying, like at the very tail end of it.
No,
so
I definitely see
maybe
that.
not. Yeah, so not interfering in the Fire Festival itself, but
Yeah, for
kind
sure.
of like playing a Shanks at the end of Marineford. Yeah.
No, I definitely
Christian,
see
what
that.
about you?
I do like that, and I do like that idea because I feel like the third act could give us, like, with the Fire Festival, it could give us some closure on the like Wano internal political issues, and then we can scale that entire thing up.
Well,
Yeah.
my thing about, we disagree on the Fire Festival
Yes.
stuff, but
Yes.
in my
I'm
mind,
tired of arguing with you about it because
Nah,
it's just like
it's
we're just going to
fine,
see
it's
it
fine.
happen or not happen.
but
And then I'll say I'm wrong if I'm wrong. But yeah.
my mind is like, yeah, there'll be a down point when the good guys are losing, and then we'll just get reinforcements, and it'll still be Fire Festival will still be the final bit. But yeah, I think it's almost a lock that the Marines are turning up. We got the sword unit, we got Drake there, Kobe's on his way. We got Kizaru showed interest, Garp maybe turning up to sort out the Rocks pirate situation. There are so many ins for the Marines. It's almost guaranteed at this point in my mind. Because if you look at Marineford, we got like one line of Shanks, and then he turns up in the war. So like, I think the Marines are turning up. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. We're getting too
That's
many
true
hints.
with Shanks.
Yeah.
Shanks, we were told that he was dealing with Kaido.
Yeah,
and
we get
stuff,
one
so nobody
line
thought
about
he was
Shanks,
showing.
and then he turns up
Yeah.
at Marineford.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty
Let's
sure
see, let's do
Marines are
one
turning
more,
up.
and then I really have to get something into my belly and start
All right.
getting
Sounds
some
good.
work done. You can pick Morj. I'll allow you the honor of picking the last
Thank you.
question.
Wait, did Christian get to pick?
Oh yeah, I picked
Yeah,
the last
You
question.
picked the
yeah.
last one.
That was the last question. And O'Hara you picked?
Nope, but you can still go.
Okay. All right. Shoot. Look. I'll answer from Silver. Oh no, that was the Silver.
Yeah, that was the Silver
All right.
That was Silver's
question,
question. It's like nice. I'm just doing this on purpose because like Morj looking for questions on Twitter is like always like some channel ASMR. It's like
If you guys make
I'm so
questions
distracted.
beforehand,
I'm not gonna be.
Yeah,
able
we
to do
always
it.
like that's like the single most frequent feedback we get. Select your questions before, but like we're like this is part of the charm of the podcast.
okay.
Like aimlessly
about this?
wondering.
Yeah. How about? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, we're supposed to be picking these beforehand now, but we didn't do that. All right, whatever. Since also we're sponsored by Audible. Forgot to say that. Since all people of D die with a smile, do you think Odin smiling? Yeah, basically he's asking, the Odin smile. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think it's clearly related to the clan of D and the ancient history. I think it's pretty obvious in my mind. Look at Roger. Look
Oh.
at Luffy when he was about to die. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Odin necessarily is a member of the D clan, but he's definitely like his family's tied back to the Void Century. So I feel like he definitely has strong like he is not Luffy and he's not Roger, but he definitely has the same vibe. So
Well, I guess like dying with a smile on your face is basically saying my will be carried on.
yeah, and I feel like
yeah.
in Odin's case, it might even go reach a bit further than that. Like he is happy with the life he lived, I feel, but at the same time, it also looks a bit knowing. Like he's literally like, I know
he
how
does-
things
yeah.
will turn out, kind of.
He does say my soul will live on, so he knows. He knows about secrets to One Piece
Yeah,
well. So maybe
exactly.
something there, I don't know.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's just annoying smile, like he knows everything will be fine, kind of,
Yeah.
and he's done what he could. Yeah, nice. Then let's
Alright.
maybe wrap it up slowly. Yeah. Oh, I'm leaving that to
Yeah.
you, of course.
Or quickly, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, go ahead and check out the Red Force
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Thanks for joining.
On our show, we're gonna have the same thing in here. So stay tuned for next segments. All right, this show isn't over.
Oh
baby.
yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
segments after
this section
this.
of the Wano report,
Yeah.
it'll be featured there, and they're gonna have like a whole additional couple of segments added onto
Sure.
it. So
Also,
Do you guys-
if
Okay.
if you're
Yeah.
listening to this on the Red Force podcast, definitely make sure to subscribe to the Wano report. We got to steal all
subscribe
the
to the one.
subscribers.
Yeah, just you guys are already bigger
Christian,
than us.
Christian
so.
will edit out this part.
Yeah, I'll just edit it out.
Eric will definitely edit it out.
All right, so
Subscribe now.
subscribe to the Red Force podcast, and I've been saying this for months. I'm subscribed from Dritz, all right? No one should subscribe to Dritz. And subscribe to us instead. That's all I'm gonna say.
Unsubscribe from
All right.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Nice. Anything else?
Yeah.
Thanks to Revujo, as always.
Yes, definitely. Thanks to
Great
Revujo.
artist.
And
Alright.
I think that's it. Yeah, make
Great.
sure to leave us a like, support the podcast here. Maybe if you're listening to this on Spotify or anywhere else, we'd appreciate maybe a comment or a review or something.
Sure.
And if you made it to the end of this podcast again, like maybe tell us and leaving like a hashtag Wano report in the comments.
Okay. There you go.
Again, out of curiosity.
Sure.
All right.
I think that's it.
I'm gonna hit stop.
Okay, let's do that.
We're back from the Wano report.
I hope you had a good time.
I hope you had a good time. All right, an hour and 40 minutes later. But now we're here for How Strong Are Shanks. All right. Now, for those people who aren't aware, all right, every week we ask the question of how strong is Shanks? And everyone can answer. Shanks is the strongest. Shanks is the God King. Now there are people out there who think Kaido's the strongest. Who think Dragon's the strongest. Who think sweatiest man on the planet Alkainu is the strongest. Who think Mihawk's the strongest? Not strongest swordsman, not the strongest. And who think the worst of them all? Aimu's the strongest. And that is the worst one. No doubt. But every week we bring 100% factual, logical evidence to the table. And this week's evidence is Shake is so strong that he is the man Odin is talking about, and Luffy will open the borders to accept the God King into Wano, the man who will bring in the new dawn. Alright, it's not Luffy. Luffy's not Joe Boy. It's the God King, baby. Alright. Praise be the God King. Shake is the God King. And you should know it. Alright. Now, moving on, topic of the show, prophecy implications. Alright, we'll get into it. Now, the prophecy implications. Now, what do I mean by this? Here's what it basically boils down to. If Odin knows about the secrets of the world, so do the world government, and they know the prophecy as well. So, what is going to happen on Wano? That's my question. Right?
My question to you is this going to be end war propaganda from you?
No.
Alright?
My question is, if the world government know about this prophecy, about this, someone will come and defeat Kaido in 20 years, someone will come and open up the borders of Wano in 20 years,
Let me
why
ask
don't they
you
get
this
involved?
question.
What?
Again, let me ask you this question. Why wouldn't they, if Wano's so important, Christian,
Yeah.
why would they not
Take it over.
send over their...
Because apparently the
Get this-
legend... apparently the legend of Odin is so powerful that they don't dare enter the country.
Now, what? Now, would the Goro say, Christian, apparently all at least admiral level, according to some in the community.
Apparently I'm the ridiculous one for not saying they are.
All the admirals, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be number one priority for the world government if they
Apparently
knew?
not. Apparently it doesn't matter to them at all. So
They can't know.
they have to know.
It has to be so dangerous that only Aimu knows.
But Sengoku knows about the Will of D.
But does he know about
Sengoku
Wano?
knows.
Is there a
Garp
secret?
knows.
Is there a secret
They
key
know.
about Wano that no one knows?
Well, Odin seems to know about it, and he found that out at Laugh Tale.
Yes.
So are you going to assume the world government knows?
Now, what have you written down for this segment, Christian? I want to
Nothing.
know. All right, what does Odin say specifically about the 800 years and about this
He
man?
says in 800 years there will be a figure who will split the seas into two, whatever that means.
After 800 years.
After 800 years, and Wano's borders have to be open to welcome this person.
Now,
Now the Wano borders are closed, and Luffy is not welcomed. So, what's going on there? Is Joy Boy on his way, and Luffy indeed is not Joy Boy?
is it Vivi still, Christian?
Is it Vivi? That's my question. And again, Odin makes it seem like it's a physical thing. Because,
Yeah, we all know. Yeah, we all
Come
know
on.
that. Yeah. All right.
come on.
Now-
like,
What I was now. This implies that indeed that like people still peddling the idea that the Joy Boy is a title. I think is like twisting the information to fit like a non
well, it depends
Thing.
if it's
because this,
reincarnation. or
even
is it
before
inherited
yeah
will?
or even before this chapter, right?
Yeah.
The Sea Kings talk about a child being born in a different sea, so
Yeah.
it's not a title. It's
But-
specifically through birth.
Sure.
So I don't know why. Like this chapter also implies that Roger wasn't Joy Boy, doesn't it? Because he says after 800 years there will be a figure that will start a war to,
Fix it, whatever.
fix it. And maybe Roger's talking about they're too early because they're gonna wait 20 years because this man will be born. to split the seas with Shirahoshi.
Well, the Sea Kings don't necessarily say Joy Boy. They say our two sovereigns.
Yes, but you know,
Now,
until Otis says Joy Boy.
Now, my question for you is
Yeah.
Joy Boy hurtling through time as we speak and will arrive
What? Who is it?
in time? The actual
Is
Joy Boy.
is Toki sending him?
Did Toki send Joy Boy 800 and something years into the future? And this is why the prophecy exists at all.
She sends him 800 years to the future
Yeah.
for Shirahoshi to be reborn. What's the purpose?
Shirahoshi, ancient weapon, we could get ancient tech bullshit. You know it. You just
But the Sea Kings say they will not fail this time, don't they?
Yes.
Maybe they're talking about the first
Which
time.
also is interesting because the 800-year comment from Odin. Like, what did Odin know?
But the Sea Kings referring to the original, which is Joy Boy and Poseidon,
Sure.
that they failed. But the second time they won't fail, instead of the theorized every whatever.
Yeah.
Because what is it? Is it confirmed every 200 years Shirahoshi's born or Poseidon's born?
220 something years, yeah. 243 or some shit. But
We need more information on the cycle, and because if it is Luffy, it's all too much.
yeah.
Do you agree that it's all too much, especially after this chapter, because it's going in that
Depends what
direction?
It means. If it means this man inherited the spirit, the will of Joy Boy, but he still is his own man in his own right. He's not destined to do all this action. He still did it by himself. He still did it with his crew. It's his adventure. If that's still the case, it's alright. It's fine. Whatever. Because we know Inherited Will's been the story forever. It's like you pick up the mantle of the person who died or the person who had a dream. You know, the dreams never die, that kind of thing. So, you know.
But was Joy Boy's dream to be the freest man of the sea?
No. So, Luffy doesn't even care about Joy Boy's prophecy bullshit.
And he's never really
He doesn't even
like.
have the goal.
It'd be real weird if we
But
get
you
to
could
the
say
end
the
and
same
Luffy.
thing.
It'd be
It's the
real
same thing
weird,
about
Krishna.
Naruto, though. Where, like...
But that's not good.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, Naruto never wanted to be some deity. He wanted to be...
So if we get to the end and Luffy somehow realizes his grand responsibility on the world,
Nah, that's not Luffy.
come
It's not
on.
Luffy.
Ah, it's all too much.
Luffy's gonna be like, what? I don't give a fuck. What are you talking about? He's not gonna listen to the ancient history. You
What if-
know Luffy isn't gonna listen to the ancient history. You just know.
Can you imagine if the Joy Boy's actually Shanks? Which doesn't make sense, but you know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with what the
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Neptunian said. But
But
no, Joy Boy's kid, Christian. Joy Boy's kid.
the main thing I want, like, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about. It's like, if people know about this, the world government, Aimu at the bare minimum, knows that
He had
someone's
the-
gonna pin Wano.
And he had the picture of Luffy.
Yeah,
The only way to interpret that hat scene, I think we know the answer, Christian.
yeah,
He was choosing who Joy Boy is,
yeah.
and it was Blackbeard, it was Vivi, it was Luffy.
Again, Odin states that someone will appear at Wano and the borders must be open for them. Luffy's already here. The borders are closed. The prophecy is already wrong.
But what does Joy Boy do if Joy Boy teleports to the future? What does that do for the story?
I don't know.
That's
We got another- we
it
got
throws
another-
a massive wrench.
We got another Emperor level character, and
We
he's
got the
here.
highest level man in the story
Yeah.
on our
He's
side.
here,
Like,
and
what's
he's on our
going on?
side. Whatever. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, the prophecy's already wrong because the borders are closed, and
Luffy strolled up.
Luffy strolled up. So the borders aren't open. Wano isn't working with them if Luffy is Joy Boy. And at the end of the narrator states at the end of the chapter, these figures will rid Kaido of Wano. Not one man, not the mystical
Yeah,
hero.
and, Odin applies multiple people that'll be like the characters of the final war.
Yeah, well, that's in the narrator. The narrator states that
Yeah.
Odin states the Joy Boy prophecy.
Now,
But like, how does this get revealed? Does this get revealed at the end of the story? Like,
Or-
or get
or
revealed
is
now?
well, someone has to know. It has to be
Toki.
like, well, someone has to know.
Toki.
Someone has to go to it. Like it. the only opportunity it'll get revealed is if Luffy, like, we go to Raftel and Luffy is told he's Joy Boy. Like, who else is gonna tell him? The poneglyphs that Robin reads?
So Toki isn't alive. God, surely Toki isn't alive.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
we're not
it's
gonna
a
see a
bit
dead
weird
body.
because I'm pretty sure Hyo is like my mother's corpse and shit. So
Yeah, and that she said she was staying in this timeline for Odin.
um,
So prophecy implications
So,
and weird.
all the pieces are starting to come together about what characters say in the verse. Again, like Whitebeard's final speech in Marineford. Again, Christian, does your final war theory take?
Yes, because Wano is his war.
Is it?
Yes,
Because Odin implies that they might be two separate leagues.
because Wano's borders aren't open yet, and Wano's borders gonna be open by a
So
massive war that's gonna split the seas.
But don't you think that's the final thing to break the One Piece? One Piece is used to split the whatever, the red line.
Sure,
To,
but
to split the seas.
biggest fucking war we're gonna see is Wano.
You keep on saying it.
Who else?
You keep on saying it.
Unless there's Secret Army Cabal and the Gorosei Emperor level.
I don't know where. Like, I thought we squashed this like 3 years ago. It's come up again.
What?
The Gorosei.
You know, it always comes up. It always pokes its head up. But
People need to chill the fuck out of their power scaling when it comes to the Straw Hats.
I mean, Luffy's going to be Pirate King level, Emperor level. That's no
Sure.
doubt. Zoro's going to be close because he's going to be Mihawk.
But how strong's Mihawk? People putting him on Emperor tier, easy Emperor tier.
He's between Admiral and Emperor. We all kind of that weird grey area.
Admiral.
He's 5 or 6 in the verse. Everyone knows that.
But the difference between Admiral and Emperor, Christian, is vast to see.
Sure, but he's in that gap, so Zoro will fit in there. That Dark King spot. Whatever
But he
it's
fights him
called.
last.
Sure, but he's going to be around.
I
the
like how
ballpark of Admiral.
Christian,
by the
we've
time
come
that
up,
war
we've
comes
come up
around.
with a system so ironclad
Yeah.
that whenever something happens in the story, it fits perfectly.
But surely Zoro has to be at least Admiral level at that point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? But we're not talking like Luffy's Pirate King Plus, Zoro's Pirate King Plus, all these crazy shit that people talk about.
Yeah.
Alright? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Chill it out. Now, I like my theory that Blackbeard will be involved in the Navy battle, therefore we kill two birds with one stone.
Okay.
People don't forget about that theory, alright?
We haven't forgotten.
So
So,
anyway, what are we even
Is
talking about?
Blackbeard part of this prophecy?
I think Aimu was picking the two sovereigns because he knows, obviously, it's Shirahoshi,
Yeah.
right? But he's looking at the other guys.
But he picked Vivi, which I find very
Picked-
interesting.
Why would no one's talking about why he picked Vivi?
He picked Vivi. He
Have
didn't
you
pick
seen-
Luffy.
Have you seen anyone talk about why he picked Luffy, Christian, apart from us? Picked Vivi apart from us?
No.
I think it's exactly clear that again, he looked at the Joy Boy hat. We're assuming the Joy Boy hat.
Yeah.
He goes, which one of these clowns is it? It's Vivi.
Yeah.
That's what I think happened.
And it's kind of like Vivi. Vivi would fit because she's not in Wano, and the borders will be opened. And then she
Yeah.
might flee to Luffy because the country's getting destroyed, so she ends up at Wano at some point. Whatever. Alright? And then she's viewed as the hero, the secret fucking leader of the world, whatever. Alright? Joy Boy. Whatever you want to say. So you
And
got-
Vivi sails with the Straw Hats again, as promised in Alabasta.
As promised. It will happen. So, those are the prophecy implications. It's getting weird. It's getting convoluted because the Navy, the world government would have to know about this. Because
Well,
Armor,
Yeah, at least Aimu, theoretically.
at least Armor and the Gorosei. At least. Bare minimum. Maybe Sengoku. Maybe Garp because they knew Roger and all that kind of shit. Right? Knew Whitebeard. They know that information.
Why do you think the Navy men don't try and get the poneglyphs? Or is the information too dangerous that no one in the Navy...
I don't think the goon
Navy
Navy
often-
men don't know. They don't know
I'm
about the
t-
poneglyphs.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, admirals.
High-ranking individuals.
Are they forbidden to track down these poneglyphs? Shouldn't the Navy take their Aimu Cabal, right? The admirals,
The
Garp,
Gorosei level
Sengoku,
people.
and just take all the poneglyphs?
Well, again, in the One Piece world, the photo matters. All right, apparently.
That's true. We gotta remember that.
You remember the photo matters.
I don't know, dude. We're getting to dangerous territory with this whole
Prophecy.
Joy Boy 20 years. He does say those figures will take out Kaido and free Wano. So where's Vivi at, you know? If that fits. It's all complex.
Sure. So there you go. Prophecy implications getting messy. I'm getting messy.
Getting dangerous.
Getting dangerous. Let's move on to the Thunderdome. We're here in the Thunderdome. The 1v1 matchup talk. Alright? The tournament. Now, if you wanna suggest matchups for this, you head over to Patreon. You give us $5. You write on the thread, and you get in. If
you want your characters to win,
if you
don't give them bad matchups.
Exactly. You want to run the bracket.
We saw an example of that last week.
Josie versus Cracker.
Where Josie moved up a tier and beat Cracker because Cracker poor matchup.
Poor matchup for Cracker. You need to run the bracket for your favorite characters. Now, we have one from MBDD, one of our Patreon members, for $5 a month.
Yes.
You two can suggest characters. And his suggestion is Sanji versus Rob Lucci. Proposed time skip. Now, Jordan Lee came in with a rebuttal to not do this.
Okay.
But Jordan Lee, we can't just constantly do you. Alright? I get it. You put in the effort. Alright? You put in the work.
What did he suggest?
I can't remember what he suggested, but he did a massive write-up. We respect you, Jordan Lee, but we have to give other people a shot.
We might do it next week.
Next week, we'll do yours next week. But
keep posting though. We appreciate it, Christian. Yeah. We always take.
We appreciate the effort.
Account.
Now, this is gonna get spicy.
All right.
Could Sanji go in the first round? We got post time skip Lucci. Not much is known about this character.
This is hard. This is both. This is both in the air nonsense.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Now, what bracket are we talking about? We were conservative with Rob Lucci.
We're talking about the low high, which is conservative for Rob Lucci, as we all know.
I remember being conservative for Rob Lucci.
Because we don't know jack shit. We only know he's in CP0. Movies say as Haki. You can say as Haki. Come on. Alright? Apparently, according to Vivi cards, Rokushiki is Haki, which is
Haki Master.
Absolute stupidity. Alright?
Again, and I did say,
sense.
I keep on sending Dritz Pirate Warriors 4 footage for his new videos of evidence for Mayhawk.
Sure. Because apparently, Vivi cards are evidence.
Outside manga materials evidence, according to some Christian.
That's right. Alright, so Sanji versus post-time skip Lucci. Where do you even begin with this?
We're going to talk about. So he has the right suit on.
He has the right suit.
He starts with the right suit.
But Haki Raikugan, talk to me about that. See, you can't forget my bias for Rokushiki plus Haki. Alright, we haven't seen it in action yet. But imagine that Ryo plus the Raikugan. Instant death. Instant death. All the piercing damage, all the damage into Sanji's chest.
Or is Raikugan just flow?
Let's not do this, because it's not. Alright? Now you get that line. Alright?
Let's. What do we even talk about with Sanji? Like, we don't even.
Let's just take it. Let's just take it back to pre-time skip.
Alright.
I think that's the easiest way to do this. Let's just take this back to pre-time skip. Let's say they both growed an equal amount and they're both at the same level post-time skip to pre-time skip.
Rob Lucci automatically wins.
Does Rob
if we're
Lucci
taking it back to pre-time skip.
Sanji, because Sanji has what? Devil leg, right?
Rob Lucci beats Sanji's ass post-time skip.
So what are we saying?
Listen, we got the raid suit.
Alright.
Question marks. He talks a big game about his durability increase, Christian.
Oh, sure. But
right?
I haven't seen him take the Haki hit.
Does the invisibility...
Page 1. No Haki on that fist. Page 1. Where's that Haki?
Again,
No one ever said.
Sanji unable to use armored hardening.
Sure.
People are gonna argue that, Christian, but
Rob Lucci has it in the movies, so
I find it annoying that people say he has it when Oda goes out of his way to draw armor hardening on everyone else but Sanji.
sure. Now, we're talking about paper art plus observation Haki. We're talking about.
This is all theoretical, alright? This is
Sure.
annoying. Have this matchup.
But this is a theoretical matchup because we both know jack shit about both characters.
CP0, leader of the CP0, clearly
Yeah.
Rob Lucci, right?
Yeah. That's why I said let's just take this back to pre-time skip.
But,
Assuming they both grew at an equal amount.
well, that's an obvious answer. Rob Lucci wins.
Rob Lucci wins.
Sanji doing real nothing in
Let's
the
talk to me about Duriki. Alright? Let's bring up the Duriki bullshit of the CP9 members.
We should look. If we take
Because
it back,
Rob Lucci is more than double of Jabra.
we know, alright? But how are you gonna parallel them?
But Sanji did kind of stomp Jabra. Alright? To be fair.
But Sanji's got no chance against Rob Lucci pre-time skip.
Sure. So, this is a hard matchup, no doubt.
No, theoretically, right, if Rob Lucci... Now, we all know Rob Lucci would train very hard to get his revenge,
Give the monkey dick.
to match his Dark Justice epithet.
Sure.
He rose the rank somehow.
He's
Even
leader
after
of the
that-
C. He's
even
he's
after
might be
that-
leader of the CP0.
Even after the massive L he took,
Sure.
right? It's his fault
It's
and his
Bandim's fault.
lobby.
It's Bandim's fault. It's Bandim also raising rank, so
What's going on in the world government?
the legend of Spandime runs too deep. All right,
What is going on in this world government, Christian?
Eric. The legend of Spandime runs too deep.
How incompetent are these idiots?
Well,
No, are the crickets going on again?
yeah, the crickets are back. All right, can't do much about the crickets. All right,
What's
The
going
crickets
on
are
out
here.
there?
It's the outback. Crickets are going off. What are we gonna do about it? All right.
We have to give it to Rob Lucci if we're going to play that game.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's fair.
Rob Lucci can literally go anywhere. Alright?
Sure,
He can match Luffy right now,
sure.
or he could be under commander level.
I mean, I think it's a bad matchup for Sanji because Rob Lucci, physical martial arts fighter, so
Speed.
is Sanji, but he's got the animal Zoan Devil Fruit on top of it. Plus, they both can fly, so the flight aspect for Sanji's out of the question.
It's getting to the ridiculous point where, like, we can't talk about Sanji because, like, it's
People
too
just
late.
get triggered.
Like,
people
we
just-
can't even talk about it because,
here's the thing. Do you honestly think that Virgo is weaker Virgo is stronger than Rob Lucci?
people think
That's my
Sanji
question.
should beat Virgo, though.
But cracked leg.
But damage from Nami's
From
body.
damage from Nami and in his body.
Nami in his body.
I think if you ask anyone right now, they'll say Rob Lucci post-time skip beat Sanji. Just because it's a bad matchup for Sanji.
It's not a bad matchup.
It's a bad matchup because,
It's an equal. They're like basically the same fighter.
but Rob Lucci has the Zoan extra element that puts him over the physical mark.
Sanji's got the red suit.
Ah, the raid suit. Well, he's turned invisible. Cool. Rob Lucci got those animal instincts, baby. Alright.
Has your opinion changed about who Sanji's fighting in this war? And will it be a solo fight? And Zoro.
It's Sanji and Chopper versus Queen.
Sanji and Chopper.
Yeah, because Chopper's gonna get rid of all those diseases.
And Zoro and who?
Zoro needs to fly somehow, so put Robin on that team.
Nah, Zoro doesn't. Why would King fly? How are they gonna fight each other if he's in the air?
Shoot Hadoukens from the sky.
It's such a nonsense point.
Well, whatever. Someone who could put out
Zoro
fire.
will just cut them with
Nami
his
puts out fires.
beams.
Zoro and Nami, because she can put out fires.
He's gonna have to play defense on that Nami.
Also, Nami.
Because we all know you take out the support first, Christian.
Maybe Usopp's far away, sniping. Who knows?
I want that Usopp sniper shit. You know I want that.
I know you want it. Is it gonna
That's
happen?
probably my number one thing I
Is it
want in this
gonna
fight.
happen? Alright.
Apart from moving to some sick shit.
So I think the answer is obviously Rob Lucci.
Sanji gets knocked out.
Sanji-
Now, perhaps Jordan Lee justified in this objection.
I agree, but we have to give people a chance, right? We have to give people a chance.
Sanji's out.
Sanji's
Yeah.
our first round. Who would have thought? The Sanji versus Zoro matchup could not happen now. What do you think about that? See, this is why you have to get into the
Bad matchup for Sanji.
This is why you have to get into the Patreon and
You had to
submit your matchups. Otherwise, characters and matchups like Sanji versus Zoro cannot happen. This is what happens. Alright?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Alright? So there you go. I think we're going to move on to the next segment. The question corner. The question corner. We're here. What are you doing, huh? What are you looking at? Huh? What are you looking at, huh? You thinking about Sanji losing to Rob Lucci? Thinking about how mad. Put that question on Twitter. Get that poll ready. Put it up. Put it up. I want to see. Tag that King of Lightning. Alright, tag all the people. Let's see what the people think. Alright? Question corner. From Vashta Narada. Why was Orochi not cut down once he revealed his own family, who his family was? Oden tells us that the family has been hunted, and when he tells everyone, they make him shogun. Well, I guess Sukiyaki was so well respected that his word was final on who's the shogun, kind of thing. I mean, Yasui takes him in, so like, I guess that's over, the revenge plot. I don't know, like, is the revenge plot over? Like for the Kurozumi clan, are they still being hunted? He was hunted in his youth, but now he seems to be kind of fine.
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, you know, what are you gonna do? I don't know, man.
So Sukiyaki's word is too good.
Not enough detail to glean into this culture
Sure.
of the clans.
Sure. From Spectre, I'm gonna assume he spelled the threes are an E, alright? Can Shanks create something he can't destroy, or is he unable to create something he can't destroy? Now, why are you bringing up these dumb questions? Alright? Shanks, as I've said multiple times, is a sum of all infinites. Therefore, he can simultaneously destroy and not destroy an infinite amount of things he can create.
You do the math.
What part of
You do the
infinite?
math.
What part of infinite don't you understand? Alright? What part don't you understand? Alright, next question. From Drix 6. Would you guys react if Shanks gets off-screen by Blackbeard before even meeting Luffy again? Don't ban me for asking that question. Well, it is a dumb question. And it's not gonna happen. And if it did happen, the show's going off for a month. Alright?
We
The
will
show's not happening for a month.
If Shanks dies, mourning period will happen.
Alright? We're not turning up for a month. Going dark. Alright?
Well, we have to do a funeral service.
The funeral service will be tasteful. A montage video of all the great Shanks moments. A montage of all the great How Strong Is Shanks moments.
But of course he won't die, Christian.
Exactly. He'll always live on. His physical body might die, but again, you know,
His spirit
what
will be
is
everyone's
flesh? What does flesh mean to a god? Nothing. All right. Absolutely nothing. All right? From sad, no death. Kaido shoots a sensu bean into Oden's mouth. Oden realizes this and sits into the oil while with a smile on his face. Kaido transforms in a pretend rage, and his foes escape and knock over the pot, causing a ruckus. Oden, now healed, slips onto Kaido's back. Now he wears leather on his hide to hide his scales. The oil burning, eternally burning. The true king of Wano, Kaido, is the head of the sword. What? This is the craziest question.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
So Kaido shoots a sensu bean into Oden's mouth.
Yeah.
Odin realizes this and sinks into the oil while he smiles. Kaido transforms in a rage and rages at his foes that are escaping and knocks over the pot, causing a ruckus. Odin, now healed from the sensor beam, slips onto Kaido's back, who Kaido wears leather to hide his scales. The oil eternally burning on Kaido, the tricking of Wano. Kaido is the head of the sword unit. This is the most incomprehensible question I've ever gotten.
Shout out.
This man's a madman. What's going on? I don't know. Maybe it's a language barrier. I don't know.
Maybe it's some kind of haiku or shit.
I don't know. It's crazy. From Mari. Wrong question, so you can answer off air if you guys want. Oh, we're here, we're here. So people say that Big Mom can't go down because she has to go to Albath, but I always had this thought. What if Albath came to Wano? I believe in Morj's theory that Shanks has some connection to Albath. So what if he shows up like he did in Marineford, but this time he brings some giants with him? A Big Mom and Albath plot can be settled then.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Is that the question? Is that it? It's not that long of a question.
And there's another half of the question. It would be like, it would be an easy lead into Albath arc with Shanks and the Giants taking Luffy and his crew to Albath, since we all believe that the next arc is Albath.
I think
but
people
kind of Big Mom have to go there.
thoughts about the whole thing about Albath and Big Mom being there is a lamb's house,
Sure.
not necessarily the Giants.
Yeah.
So, Shanks clearly has some connection to Albath because he has a Viking ship.
Okay. Well, that's equal evidence to Kaido's story. So we all know it's confirmed.
With a Viking dragon
Sure.
as his what is it?
I mean, apparently every
Helm?
yeah. Mast. I don't know. Front
No,
thing.
it's a helm. The helm.
Is it the helm, the wheel?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Figurehead. I don't know what it's called. All right.
Uh,
So, I don't know if Shanks turning up with giants is like.
I think we need to understand more so the Rocks plotline and how that connects the two characters for us to make a final decision on what the fuck's going on with Big Mom and Kaido in this arc.
Yeah.
Because if it's a deep connection of the two characters and it's parallel to Rocks and they both fall again because of their old ways and it's all like fucking emotional, poetic, then they can both fall here together.
Yeah.
As they did with the Rocks or whatever,
Yeah,
But-
the connection there needs to be strong. All right.
Until we do find out about that, it's hard to say.
From Captain Said, I know Togi has been useless, but why are people upset about it when there's like a 90% chance we're going to find out more about her later, whether she's still alive or in the Void Century flashback. Also, people being upset by the fact that Odin planned this 20 years time travel rather than Togi doesn't make sense. What's so bad about that? I'm fine with someone says they would have preferred her to come up with the plan, but just because you didn't get what you wanted, it doesn't make it bad. Well, we all assume Togi had some fucking prophecy, fortune-telling ability.
Basically, as soon as we heard she had the time for it, everyone just knew she was from the Void Century.
Yeah. We basically want the Void Century stuff from Togi. Why she has to go to Wano.
I'm not really complaining about like Odin telling her to do it. Like, who gives a fuck about that,
Yeah. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. We'll get more from her at the end of the arc.
Well,
when the Void Century's revealed.
Believe it or not, we cut the flashback short, which is
One chapter short.
yeah, or whatever.
We're getting that scene at the end of the arc when shit gets revealed, alright?
Unless we get it revealed when the moon opens.
Yeah, the
and
moon
20
stuff. Yeah,
hits,
sure.
Yeah,
That could be it. Yeah.
and fucking, she turns up 20 years later.
With Joy Boy. Joy Boy can fight Big Mom. There you go. We figured it out. That's why there's two emperors here. Alright. From George Valdez. I think Christian already talked about this with Dritch Stream, but do you guys see Odin's speech as a prophecy? Are we Naruto boys now? We already talked about this. And either way, it could be, could not be. Who is Joy Boy? Does this prophecy actually impact the world in any way?
Does it grant any powers?
Does it grant any powers? You know, all kinds of shit. Alright?
Because Naruto turned into a god when he realized he was the ancestor of the whatever.
Sure, when he got all the tailed beasts or whatever. Yeah. From Thunderbird, do you think this is the worst flashback in the series by Oda's standards when it comes to a character? Tokyo Roger wiping the voice edge information and focus on Oda's character's journey or lack thereof.
This can't be the worst flashback.
This can't be the worst flashback.
We had a named attack from Roger.
And he said take away the Roger wiping stuff.
You can't take it away.
He said take it away.
Also, Sindri's the worst flashback in the story.
Sindri's the worst flashback.
That's a fact.
Okay. I mean, Vivi's flashback isn't that good.
Yeah, with Kozo, like,
Kozo,
who
that's
fucking
fucking
cares?
around his kids. You know, she's a royal, he's a bum, you know.
Still a bum.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if this is the worst. I think we're gonna calm down on these fucking, you know, saying this shit's the worst, it's the best, you know.
It's just Dritz being a meme, as usual.
Okay. Alright. From Jordan Lee, question corner. Is Chopper's little form we see him in hybrid form, or is this full animal form? Is it you talking about brain point? Or is this
Brainpoint's
unique, such as base form is permanently changed because he should be a reindeer in the base form? His base form is reindeer. His hybrid form is the buff deer, the buff man. The Chopper.
That required a rumble ball though.
No, that form didn't require a Womble Ball.
Yeah, because he rages into it.
No, that's his base hybrid form.
He's got a couple of forms, and then he has to use a rumble ball.
Brainpoint, reindeer, and hybrid form are all non-rumble ball forms.
Yeah.
But he's always hanging around in Brainpoint for some reason. Because apparently makes him big IQ in Brainpoint.
Yeah. When has he ever been dumb in any of his other forms other than Monster Boy?
Never. So, but he can't use that one move to analyze.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only reason why it would be in brain points for analyze.
He only used the one to get the Wapple, so.
No, against Chessman, Christian, not against Wapple.
Oh yeah, against Chessman even, not even against Wapple. So there you go. So, yeah, his small form is Brainpoint. Yeah, there you go. From Blondebeard, Defrisk.
What?
How did Orochi regain the Flower Capital's trust? It's just by fear of some smart political moves. It's fear. Alright? It's fear. You know? That's what it is. Agreed? Yes. From Walter. Is Wano going to have its natural borders destroyed by Luffy? I don't think it will, but it's fun to think about it. Great job, guys. But Christian is the host, lol. Ah.
Well, he completely fell apart.
Interesting
in the intro.
there.
I don't know about that.
Eric looking a little bit lately, alright?
I'm not
Eric
sweaty.
looking a little bit lately, alright? He's looking a little sweaty. But
If you say so.
again, I think it has to do with Uranus and the terraforming fucking.
Yeah, you're big on
weapons.
this. You're big on this, destroying the physical borders.
Okay, it has to be physical, dude. What is this? We have to open the borders with poles.
When are we gonna talk about the borders? We're what, 70 chapters deep at this point? How
when
deep?
the Void Century flashback bullshit happens? Right?
61. What are we on? 172. That is what, 64 chapters? Yeah,
Sure.
about that. 65, something like that.
We'll get it. That's the goal of the arc. Open the
God
borders.
damn it! It's fucking tied to the. It's tied to the Void Century, so
Yeah.
you won't know.
So you won't know until someone does it.
This is like the Odin flashback, but for the grander scheme of the story.
Yeah. All right.
It's what do you think about this writing technique, Christian? How do you think the plot is revolved around a secret that he doesn't want you to tell about? Doesn't want you to tell you, like.
It's a carrot on the stick.
But it's getting to a point where it's like you're using it as one of the major.
I think it has to be the Wano
points
reveal. I think there has to be
of
a
the arc.
massive Wano reveal about the Void Century and all this stuff for the story of Wano to make sense.
What do we think? What was the Void Century? Why they closed the borders? Was that it, or is that why?
I think that more has to do with Ryuma stuff. To be honest, with the City of Gold shit,
Yeah.
whatever they said about that,
Remember that
which
panel?
we'll ever get maybe at the end of the arc when Zoro goes to Ryuma's grave, and
Maybe
Robin
we
Reed's
get a Joy Boy flashback, Christian,
Oh shit!
in Wano.
Maybe, but who knows? All right. From the best, coming off Dritch's stream, why do you think other YouTubers think that the World Government Marines can such small match level threat of Yonko's pose? And what are your thoughts on? Because it's dumb as shit. Alright, they're not thinking. Alright, how many times do we have to get Kaido being like, World Government? How many times do you have to get Orochi being like, you can't beat us? I have Kaido. Even if
Give me Vegapunk, CP0, sweaty.
If Vegapunk turns up, World Government cannot defeat Kaido's army at all. That's fact. That's fact.
Who was I talking to? Do you think this is a symptom of like the Yonko being in the story and like copying seemingly L's and the Navy like have been unscathed?
They got the biggest Evolution Marine fort.
Well, they kind of won the battle.
Did they though? 3 admirals versus 1 emperor.
One dead emperor.
Most commanders.
He turned up dead.
Kaido one-shot Luffy. How the fuck is Jozu getting a hit on Aokiji, make Aokiji as strong as Kaido?
Bloodied by
Bloody damaged. Stupid.
Marco kicks Kizaru away.
Outpowers Kizaru. In physical strength. Craziness. All
But he wasn't trying, Christian.
Admirals just aren't as strong as Emperors. We know this. And the Emperors balance it. I'm sick of this fucking stupid math. Where it's like, the Emperors are... It's like the Emperors are aligned, and if they could defeat the world government. No, the Emperors balance themselves out because they're always fighting with each other.
In the New World.
In the New World. They're not a group that works together.
The Navy wasn't even in the New World until 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about? Stupid. Stupid as shit. Alright. Next question.
Yeah, we can talk about that for days.
From Patrick Salon. What do you think will be Dragon's Roll come the endgame One Piece? Tell us something about politics and die, I guess. Whatever. Because we all know Zabo's taking that throw, you know. Zabo's doing whatever Zabo's gonna do. He's one of the brothers. I think Dragon's dying is pretty, you know, I don't know, on point, I guess. Zabo's gonna take up that mantle.
Sure.
You know, I don't know. Watch Dragon's Roll, do something with the Navy, alright? Actually fight an admiral or some shit, you know? There you go. From the best. I already read that. From 101 Crazy Man. At this point, is it possible for Luffy to fight a high diff fight with Kobe before he reaches Laugh Tale and find One Piece? Luffy seems too astronomically far away from Kobe that it almost seems impossible for him to catch up to Monkey D. Yeah.
If Kobe's the guard parallel, Oda dropped the ball.
It's, I don't know.
Like,
Kobe
what are you
sucks.
doing? Like, Kobe's nowhere even close to Luffy.
I mean, if he takes that bow out, he's on his way, I guess. But that's also unbelievable.
If he takes that bow, that's beyond belief.
Alright, yeah. I don't see it actually happening. Also, are you friends with Zoro Fanboy? If so, you should get on Grand Life Chronicle for an episode someday. Yeah, we've had Zoro Fanboy on the show. I don't know.
Zoro's a second guest?
Yeah, Zoro Fanboy seemingly, you know, not like super involved with the community. He's kind of got his own shit going on with the Jorshay and shit. But, you know.
Shout out to the Jorshay.
Shout out to the Jorshay, alright? Zoro Fanboy, yeah, we know, we talked to Zoro Fanboy here or there. You know, I don't know why he doesn't come in the tier 3 King Lining streams. I wonder why.
Oh, Christ. How do you think this rover is going to go down?
I think Matt B's going to get into some beef. Beef's going to start. There's going to be beef.
It'll be a Navy Emperor thing, no doubt.
Yeah, Matt B's going to start some beef.
Because
right?
Matt's the massive Navy dude. And Brago will jump on that bandwagon.
Ugh.
They'll talk about Kizaru. They'll talk about Kid.
I mean, we got King, and you got us. So
The Gorosei. Are we the only ones left? Not
King.
And King.
It's King and us. I don't think Morj gives a fuck. So Morj and them, they don't care.
But Christian, he has Kitetsu, which is unconfirmed. I don't know why he was saying that.
Apparently it's the same hilt, so it's confirmed.
What?
I pressed him on it. I'm like, when was that confirmed? He's like, it's got the same hilt. I'm like, okay.
He has a sword, Christian. I will remind you.
Here's the first Kitetsu, right?
Why do people not understand the concept
No,
of
let's not.
How many
do
times
this
have we talked about
again.
this? How many times?
We've done it like 3 times in a row this week, alright? This month, alright? So, there you go. Action Johnson. How was Onan able to see or know about the war that's going to happen in 20 years? Why was Toki not the one to see this event? She has a time fruit. The time fruit doesn't necessarily give you future sight abilities.
Raftel told him that.
Raftel, the final poneglyph, told him. I think that's what it is. What is Toki's purpose besides being a childbearer for Onan with little/no importance in his flashback than being a good wife? Again.
There
4th century bullshit at the end of the arc.
There's a character there as we see this chapter.
Sure.
She doesn't want to cry because, weakness.
Yeah.
All that shit. But we get nothing. So what do you want me to say?
Alright. And his final question, how do you feel about Joy Boy or a Joy Boy-like person coming back to Wano? Coming back being Luffy? We talked about it, We don't like it. We don't want it. But it seems like it's there. Okay. What are you gonna do about it? Alright. From Hoffa City. At the end of this chapter, do you think Kaido is jealous of how glorious Oran's death is? It seems to me, over the course of 20 years, everyone has gotten too weak or is just uninterested in fighting him, which is probably why he wants to start a massive war thoughts. Well, that just feeds back into my theory of Kaido wants a bigger death, wants a more grand death than Roger. So, he also comments on Odin's grand death. I think that's his dream. He wants some sort of grand death like Whitebeard, like Roger, like Odin. He wants some epic death. That's what I feel about it.
What if it's a plot twist and he actually wants to split the seas like the prophecy?
He's part of this prophecy.
Yeah, and then we
He's
join
playing
Kaido.
the villain just to be...
Yeah. And then we join Kaido's side to take out the world government.
That's crazy.
And split the seas.
Alright. From Captain Ulrich. For a brief moment, I thought Onan was dabbing in that thumbnail.
He's dead.
Don't see it. Alright, gotta be honest, don't see it. Just to clarify, the arrows were shot before Kaido descended from the heavens. The arrows were to disperse the people and making them refuge inside their homes, to which the manga states that after Kaido came down, a few hours later, Onan stepped out and twerked. Okay, I don't know that that's necessarily important, but okay. Did you guys notice that Shinobu had black gloves in one panel, and then she doesn't have them in the other?
Mistake.
I'm not gonna say there's 2 Shinobus running around.
Actually, Odin's done this before with Katakuri.
Sure.
He had white gloves, he had black
I mean, he
gloves.
does this all the time with Sanji's facial hair, forgetting to draw it. His little goatee
There
always
was
forgets
like
it.
a 20 chapter stretch we didn't have it.
Yeah.
And then he had it again.
And then he had it again. So, I'm going to say that's our mistake. I'm not saying there's 2 Shinobus walking around. Therefore, she is also the traitor.
Who's the
What
traitor?
if she has a twin sister and she's also the traitor? What do you think about that?
Why
What
do
do you
we...
think about that plot twist?
Better question.
Yeah.
Why do we have more characterization for Shinobu than
Then
Kinemon?
Yeah.
That's a better question for you.
Shinobu's an important character, right?
Alright.
Alright.
Oh, so it's Fukurokuju versus Shinobu confirmed in the war? What do you think about that?
Alright. His next question. If you guys get into the reverie, we were in the reverie, I can confirm an invite.
Yeah.
Apparently Eric's not invited, I'm invited, so,
Oh, is that true?
Alright, apparently. You're not welcome, Eric, apparently.
Oh, why's that?
Oh, I don't know, you pulled a little stunt on the stream that B wasn't appreciative. Alright, so, Looks like the true host of the Red Force podcast will appear
When you talk nonsense,
on the
Christian,
delivery.
I'm gonna leave.
Alright. So could you please tell Joy Boy Odin sucks for me? He's not gonna listen, there's no point.
I don't know if Joyboy refuses to respond to any comments about the delivery or the chat. So I don't know what's going on.
It is what it is, man. He's in his own corner. He can do what he wants to do.
Shout out to Joyboy.
Now the question: could Toki be Kuromasaki? I'm gonna say no because we have been told in the story that she is dead and that she stayed in the present time because she loved Odin. Why would she lie?
Kuromasaki, aka Hiyori,
also known as Hiyori, a character that's already been discovered.
But I've talked to you about this before, Christian.
Sure. We've talked about this before.
Kuromasaki is Toki and Hiyori is Hori.
So dumb. So stupid. Alright? How old would Toki be at this point? 60?
40, probably.
Nah, 60.
Why 60?
How old is she in this? How old is Odin? No, she'd be like... What? 38?
Like
48?
Yeah, 40, 30, 40.
Because Odin's like 36 when he dies, 38 when he dies, right?
Yeah, it should be around 40
It should be... Odin's 28 when he dies. Should be around...
48.
48. Alright?
That's fine for one
relax. Let's relax a little bit.
Sure.
From Thunderbird, do you see Luffy becoming a all-rounder in his abilities by the near end of the series? AKA having most versions of observation haki, like sensing large areas like Enel and Rayleigh. Well, you mentioned...
Oh. Fuck me!
Along with emotional and future sight vision.
Yes, Luffy will have all the haki.
All the different tiers and levels.
He'll just have everything.
Iron haki as an invisible form, hardening body barriers, stage 4 lock waves,
Stage 4
shock waves, Koku's haki and its evolution. I see you're a fan of King Lightning.
Yes.
Mentioning it now, talking about haki steps and stages. Okay. Yeah, he'll get all of it.
He'll have everything.
He'll have everything, yeah.
Now, Christian, the Sanji Rob Lucci update.
Yeah.
22 votes.
Yeah.
Split.
50-50. Did you clarify it post-time skip?
I said Sanji versus Rob Lucci right now in the timeline.
Yeah. Split 50-50.
Yeah.
I think the Sanji fanboys are coming in too strong. I think that's representative of the
Well, we'll see next week, Christian.
Okay.
I left out for 5 days. We'll get the stats.
From Mari. Is the smiling one eye being done too much? I thought it was a trait of the D clan, or are Odin and Corazon secretly D's? It's the inherited will, Monica. Everyone who has their will inherited smiles after they die. Look at Roger. You look at Corazon. You look at...
I don't think it's that.
You look at Jagger, D Soul. You look at all the characters that die while smiling. Their will has been inherited.
It's not a Willa D thing. Yes, yeah, Corazon.
Yeah.
But, I assume the Kazukis are directly connected to the D family anyway.
Sure, I don't even think it's a D thing. I think it's just a great man thing. Like the free spirits or whatever. You know.
Free spirit class.
Free spirit class, alright? Odin free spirit slasher, alright?
How busted do you think Odin Legend is gonna be?
Stupid. Alright?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about Treasure Cruise here anymore, alright?
Dead game.
Dead game, alright? From Abu Seal, I'm so disappointed in the two of you for not believing that the Gorosei could potentially be first commander level.
Abu Seal.
Could potentially be above first commander level. I understand that the Admirals are the strongest power, but are they the strongest power of the Marines? No one said anything about them being the strongest power of the world government.
Why do people pretend like the Navy and the world government are completely autonomous of each other?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Alright.
This is the eternal
Navy
fight.
The Navy is the military might of the world government.
Sure.
They're not two separate individuals.
Why would politicians be so strong? Because one has a sword. Thanks, Gorosei. Whatever.
One's gonna stick as well, Christian.
Yeah. And the other three look like fat old men that can't do anything. We're gonna talk about that. Those ones aren't Admiral level though.
But why is it a better idea for them to be politically powerful instead of physically? Why isn't that the better idea?
Navy stands have to. Have
But
to.
what? But what's the point of the SSG bringing them in
Because the Gorosei have
if
to
the
be.
Gorosei is stupid
The
bastard?
Gorosei have to sit in their ass and do nothing. Alright?
Also, what's better, Luffy getting revenge on Blackbeard and Akainu, or Aimu, a man that Oda invented some, 60 chapters ago?
Yeah. It is what it is. We'll be forever fighting this bullshit
Until we get there.
until the end of time. Alright? I hope Usopp just one-shots Gandhi.
I found it interesting when you were on Twitter stream when you
Yeah.
brought up the good Navy side and no one knew what you were talking about.
How does no one know what I'm talking? How does no one know that? What is going on? How have these well-established community ideas
Leaders.
disappeared?
I think it's because we're the only ones that talk to everyone, right?
Sure.
Drutz has the people on his show now,
Sure.
but individuals don't talk to everyone. They just kind of like
But
have their own little
we see it with
community.
Fujitora, we see it with Smoker, we see it with Kobe, you see it with Hina, you see it with Garp. There's clearly going to be a split between the Navy.
Sure.
How do we not see this? How? I don't know. Alright. From Eric Romo. Oh wait. Where was I up to? From Montage Toll. No. Well, from Harvard City. Do you think Orochi will eat Odin and then his will manifest into a sword inside of Orochi like in the myth? That's too out there. That's not gonna happen. He's not gonna eat Odin and then a mystical sword forms in one of his tails. I doubt it. I doubt we're going so far down the myth that it's gonna happen. Right?
Mm.
From Montage Toll. The stands that killed Kuina versus Momonosuke, who would win? Is Momo strong enough to survive the fall that killed Kuina?
Well, Kuina is stronger than Momonosuke.
So,
She was a good swordsman, Christian.
but how?
Oh.
Momo hasn't done anything, alright? He's betrayed by
He-
Zoro.
He's been training the entirety of Wano to take out Orochi. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm pretty sure Momonosuke has been gag hit before and not died, so
Now, will the time for it unravel and he'll become 28, much like his father, to take out Kaido? or
I've
Orochi?
heard so much of this theory.
What do you think about that?
I think it's stupid. I don't know how that even works. Does he just grow, or does he get more skills?
He gets the life he would have lived, and then also that gives Kinemon the buff, I guess, and the rest.
Stupid. They'll all be like 80.
Well, the ones that went into they'll be 20 years plus, so they'll all be like Ashura-doji's age.
Sure. But I doubt it. Alright? I doubt it.
Alright.
From Eric Romo. Why... where do you rank this flashback? For me, it's top 5. I don't know, dude. Like, just give it some time, alright?
Why are we ranking flashbacks anyway?
I don't know. That's a thing, apparently.
It's not really an emotional flashback, which is more of a hype one.
Yeah. Alright. Second question. How crazy is this war going to be? Crazy. We got everyone turning up. Alright? Everyone turning up.
Christian says it's the final war.
It's fun war. From Captured Ulrich. If they ask, why tell them I never liked him to begin with? Okay. Also, if Denjiro is Zoro's master, when did he leave? It's not... Tomo doesn't add up. It's not him, alright? Denjiro witching our boy turn up some point. At some juncture he'll turn up. Alright? Remember the witching our boy plotline that went nowhere? Yeah, maybe we'll find out. From
Sure.
Chrissy D. Where does Odin get the 20 years war thing from? Madam Shirley? Does he reference it for the final war from the Summer War? Could Monkey D pull off the same feat? I think it's the poneglyph on Raftel. Or Laughtel, whatever the fuck you want to call it. There's, like,
Is there a calendar as well?
The Sea King said, you know, the person will be born in 25 years, 25 years. Well, the person will be ready in 25 years. So, they're
There's
talking
some
about
kind of
Shirahoshi. So,
there's some kind of year date. There's some kind of calendar.
so I think that has to do with Raftel Polyglyph, to be honest. From Basarol 11. Any grasp of why Wano opening the waters matters. What does opening it mean anyway? Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Why does it need to be open?
Exactly. So many questions.
Is it to get the item to use the One Piece? Like,
Yes.
what is the
Because
item?
we have to be willing to
Euros?
work with Joy Boy so we can split the oceans. You know.
To take out the world government.
I don't
To
know.
unite the seas, like
It kind of implies that the world's always been like this if splitting the seas, well, I don't know. I don't know.
well, yeah, whatever, you know, it's assumed that the Navy or the world government or whatever fucking divide the seas to fucking whatever.
Sure. From
But yeah, alright.
from Tom. Considering your expectations for the splashback when it started to now that it ended, what disappointed you and what was lacking? What disappointed us? What was lacking? The Odin stuff, the Scabbard stuff. What was great? The Whitebeard Roger stuff. We all loved it. We all saw the Haki clash.
We get a little bit of a taste of what Odin was like. Not enough for me, not enough for the Scabbards to actually like
Okay,
enjoy
kind of,
them.
yeah, but yeah.
Do you think it's implied that Neko and Anu hate each other because of this chapter? That they, or is that going to be revealed later on as to why they hate each other?
I think that's gonna be revealed later on. I don't think that's
Well,
the reason.
they started fighting here.
Sure, but I think that's the reason. That'll be a dumb as fuck reason.
Sure.
Alright. From Daryl Raphael, do you think Luffy's Joy Boy? We talked about this, alright? We don't want it to happen, but it could happen, alright? From Hippo 2000, did Kaido have both? Fuck. Did he have the old woman and the old man killed? Or just the old woman? See, he used their actual names. Which is like, why?
Well, he killed the old woman for cheating in the fight.
Yeah, the old man, you know, he wasn't involved. He was just,
What is... So, Kaido would lie and cheat, but he wouldn't do it in a fight. I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he uses poison gas weapons. We've been through this before.
Does he use them or does he men use them?
Well, he manufactures them and approves them. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Dart from the BFP. Nice thumbnail. What are you guys' thoughts on all four Dragon Ball series? Original, Z, GT, and Super. Original, great. Z,
Top tier, one of the greatest.
Z, great. GT, haven't seen it, heard it's trash, alright? Everyone
Seen-
loves the
GT
MG Super Saiyan 4.
I've seen bits and pieces of GT.
Super Saiyan 4 better than the original Super Saiyan God. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Saiyan 4 is cool, alright? That's classic
Super.
90s cheese right there.
Super.
80s cheese.
Super absolute garbage trash, alright?
Ultra Instinct was cool
But
when it happened. You
but-
get that. You get
do you
that
remember
talk and stuff.
when people were like, Jiren is better than Katakuri? Wow. What are we talking
So
about?
that was King making up a character that wasn't there,
Yeah.
and then he got the character,
Yeah,
and then he was like, "Shit."
yeah. Alright, from Luffy, is the flashback finally over? Well, the narrator says it is, so I guess we'll believe the narrator, right? Some people think that this is the end of Act 3. What do you think about that?
It makes no structural sense if that is the case.
I said that we
Um,
at least have to wrap up the conflict that started with Act 3.
Well, Act 3 is supposed to be the climax.
One of
the
the
story.
climaxes, yeah.
So if Oda determines this flashback as the climax, then I guess.
Yeah.
And,
But,
or unless he's doing his own thing and not actually following act structure.
But what I was saying is, like, we at least have to wrap up the conflict started in this act with the
Yeah,
shits
people-
and shit.
Listen, alright. If you're gonna comment on acts and structure and story, read a book.
Alright. Alright. I guess people just want to
Yeah,
go see
pretty-
Mihawk, you know?
Prince Master Writer, right, would know that it's unlikely that Act 3 would end here,
Sure.
right? Now he tells me that Act 3 usually ends in tragedy, and I retorted with Christian, "There's no climax," and he's like, "Yeah, but I wanna
Go see
get out of
Mihawk.
Wano as quick as possible.
Yeah, I want to go see Mihawk. All right.
I want to see Mihawk."
Get captured by the Marines.
Then he'd literally put the Marines on God tier.
Then he would
wouldn't
literally
change-
kill himself.
He wouldn't change.
Nah, he would kill
Mihawk.
himself.
No, he wouldn't change Mihawk, Christian. No one ever changes their mind in the community, all right?
Nah, he
When
would
it comes to standing, he would say, "Fucking Green Bull was there, and he's Yonko plus."
Oh, I thought the new admirals are good.
There's a lot of twisting that needs to be
I thought
done
the
to make.
admirals are admiral minus, all right, and the old
Christian.
admirals are admiral plus.
I'm sick of this shit as well. People like making up.
Get this right. The old admirals are admiral plus. The new admirals are admirals minus, and Kizaru is admiral level. What do you think about that logic?
What do you think Oda? What do you think Oda thinks about it? I just want to see Oda like talk to King of Lightning about Haki, and King of Lightning retort.
You just have to cop the album, you know.
I would see Oda be like, but King, I gave him that electric doll fruit so he could hear people,
Because I already told you that in the arc.
and his combat Haki is trash.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. From Frisk. We all know that Orochi early motivation is vengeance. He doesn't care about Wano at all. I think he has instigated a buster call, and that's how the Marines will come to Wano. What do you think? He
wants to
obviously wants to make money, wants to live a good life. Drinking up, boozing up with Kaido. He's making deals, he's wheeling and dealing. I don't know. The Marines have other ends. Like the sword unit and shit, so...
Like the warship as well.
Yeah.
It's still gonna turn up.
From Lord Zarkon. It's seemingly more likely we'll get more from Lady Toki at some point, maybe on the Poneglyph. Any guesses or hopes? Yeah, it'll be 4th century shit at the end of the arc, explaining maybe Wano lore. Maybe...
Or when the prophecy comes true at the dawn, at the night of the moon. Yeah.
From Frisk again. So Kaido respected Oden and feels guilty about his win, hence why he killed the old hag. What do you think about his characterization? It's confusing to me at this point. Like,
He respects the strong. We knew that kinda.
but he will scheme a plot. He would at all costs, right? He would at all costs.
Maybe he'll do that when he feels that the foe is unworthy. So he'll
guess.
do whatever he wants against him.
Yeah. All right.
We'll have to wait and see, huh? Because he's got to somehow work together with Big Mom.
Yeah. From Red, when judging a character like Oden, do we discount Eastern tropes and values? Now, we've talked about this. Like, maybe we don't necessarily understanding the legends of the East, the samurai
No,
code.
we're not discounting them. We have to insert them
Yeah.
for this to make sense. So
Yeah.
insert the warrior stereotype or the samurai stereotype, and I think it makes a little bit more sense.
Sure. Yeah. But we have to insert it, and it's kind of like you can't really use real world
It's a meta point.
logic.
Definitely
Yeah,
a meta
You can't really use real world traditions and tropes, and a Western audience is not going to necessarily understand that. It's not their fault because you're not really telling them what it means, what it is. So, yeah. So, it is what it is there. From Frisk, Toki inherited Oden's will. Does this mean that she is alive now? I'm more confused about Hirori being Toki theory. She's not alive. Can we... If she is, I guess she doesn't love Oden, and that flashback bubble was a lie. So, there you go.
But again, we have seen misleading things that you assume one thing it means one thing, but isn't the case before.
Yeah, I guess.
So I don't know, dude.
Alright, from Shadow Badger. Did Oda use Sex Pistols to stop Kaido's bullet and still be alive? Unfortunately, he did not. Alright? And, Oda's dead. So, you know.
I knew he'd survive the hour. That's obvious.
Sure.
And Kaido did kill him.
Yeah.
So I am the prophet man.
Okay.
There you go. I'm always right, Christian.
Alright. From Red again. Back in Zoro when Kinemon was recounting the events of Oda's death, Zoro responds to their emotions, implying that Kaido executed Oda for his refusal to divulge information on Raftel. So far in this flashback, we've got nothing. We've yet to see Kaido's inquiry about any of this. What do you guys think? Will this part be revealed when Kaido gets his backstory?
Yeah.
There's that 3 days where time is skipped.
There's that two-hour conversation that we don't see.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of time skipped and shit with like Oda being in jail for 3 days. So he could have gone then. Maybe he offered him a deal about the Void Century information and Oda refused.
Well, again, it's getting weird if this many people that like Roger's crew, the only ones that know about the Void Century and the history and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And apart from like Iron or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck, it's getting to that dangerous point where it becomes unbelievable that more people don't know, right? If like another person knows, like how many people know, and why hasn't the Navy killed them and eradicated them from the face of the earth? Because they should probably take out Rayleigh
Sure.
and Seagull and Scopagabon.
I mean, sure, but did they know? Right, they're supposed to eradicate Roger's crew. Did they know? Where's the Armor Cabal? Where's the Gorosei gotta go kill these people? Like, nowhere to be seen. Alright? Apparently they don't have resources.
Kizaru couldn't even take out an old man.
You know, classic.
Classic.
Classic. Alright. From Frisk, yet again. What's your take on Joy Boy? Is he we already answered this question, alright? Come on, guy. Alright?
Did you copy it twice?
No. But a different person, said the question. So, I'll refer you to that answer. From Red, do you suppose they'll find a video dial on Raftel?
A video dial.
Video dial? Maybe I don't know about video dial. Come on.
We're talking about Roger.
That's
Talking
ancient
about
technology,
Joy Boy.
baby. That's ancient technology. It's possible.
Well, there's supposed to be an advanced race, so...
Sure. From Bindle, how likely is Toki alive in the present day? This theory is going out of control.
10%.
Eric's giving it 10%, I'm giving it 5%. I don't really see how it's possible, why we don't want the time for it in the current timeline, because then why does Toki just send Luffy 20 years into the future? Why do, we get all the problems. Alright? So, next, from Dart, from the BFP. Do you think impacts and opinions on a character are affected if you can read the scans and then reread the official as opposed to reading the official first? I guess I could be impacted.
I think the community plays the biggest part in the perception of characters. Because now there's like super Odin stands as a reaction to like people shitting on him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of flipped around.
Yeah. From...
Where like Odin, people are saying like this Odin flashback is better than Corazon's.
Yeah, Morj was saying that today. I'm like, okay, Morj.
Does he agree with that?
Yeah, he does.
Alright. That's interesting.
Alright. From Odin's Son supporter. Many thanks in advance for my time and effort in replying to these questions. There are 6 in total this time round. Alright, we get a little greedy on these questions.
Get a little aggressive.
A little aggressive with the number of questions here. Although it is the last person, so I guess we can answer them. Number 1. Please, can you get Greg from Twitter on the show? It's not gonna happen.
Greg
It is not gonna happen. Eric burned that bridge.
I can reach out.
Eric burned that bridge.
I didn't burn it.
It's burnt.
He said he's happy to talk anytime.
Okay, well, you know that's...
No, he legit though. He won't come on the show. He's an official man.
He will not come on the show. There's no chance of us getting him on the show. He's a busy man. He's in Japan.
He has to, work on in official capacities.
Sure, he's not turning up. There's no way we get him on the show. So unfortunate. But
It's much like Sawyer. No chance.
yeah. Question 2: Is Shanks, the God King, equal or greater than Oda-san himself?
We're referring
got-
to some of
You
all.
got to refer to the How Strong Is Shanks segment. Oda is merely the prophet of Shanks. Shanks is the God King, the sum of all infinites, the greatest power known to the universe. And Oda is literally is channeling the great power of Shanks into his work. Prophesizing. Alright? Now you can't make the story around Shanks because your head would explode. Alright? So you
Too
can't
much
do it.
hype.
So
Too much hype.
he's gonna sprinkle in it here or there.
Uh-huh.
He's a prophet of Shanks, alright? You gotta pay attention to that strong Shanks segment. Right. 3. Big Mom is a Yonko, therefore she can be considered the strongest woman in the world. Sure. Who do you guys consider to be the third, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, etc.? We're not gonna rank all the women, alright?
Why does Or bring up Cadaver's Devon's title and how it doesn't make sense?
What's her title?
The most dangerous woman or something like that.
Well, she
I'll,
does
I'll look it up.
decapitate people and shit.
Big Mom eats people
I mean, that's, you know...
and has the power to do so. Does that sully the title situation? Is that why people don't bring it up?
Are you talking about agendas, or what are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about title.
Yeah, are you talking about
Title
the Mihawk
clout.
agenda? Are you
Yeah, I'm talking about those agendas, Christian.
Of course. It's like the most dangerous, does it? Like, or whatever that means. I guess we could put Smoothie, we could put Boa, we could put Katarina in there. I guess
Smoothie has to be the second strongest.
Smoothie or Katarina, like it's either or. Like we don't actually fucking know at the end of the day. Boa,
Or Boa, you know.
maybe fucking what's his name, Shaki.
Now, according to Christian, if Roman gets hockey, then
We're in trouble.
they're in business.
We're in trouble. All right.
Most dangerous female pirate
Well, you know.
to be ever imprisoned in Impel Down. Is that real One Piece
Exactly.
wiki?
That's what it is.
Is that real One Piece wiki?
I think that's what it is.
Do they? I don't think they specifically say that.
But I think that's the reason why, because they give her the title, and the Marine fodder are like, she's the most dangerous woman in prison in Impel Down. So therefore, Big Mom's never been captured. So you can take that to the bank. Kaido been captured one time.
Also, was Odin wrong, or was Kaido captured and defeated before this fight with Odin?
I don't see why not. The Rocks incident, surely he was captured then. You know?
So he hasn't. None of those L's happened after these 20 years.
I mean, maybe a few. Who the fuck knows? No one can answer that question.
Also, Oda, we don't understand how strong these characters are, so you throwing out stuff like this gives us a hard time.
Alright, whatever, dude. Whatever. Alright. Luffy and Shanks meet again. Will they fight each other? If so, how will Luffy win? Shanks being the God King. Shanks is the God King. Now, will Shanks let Luffy win?
I don't know.
Use his infinite God King power.
Why
Maybe.
waste panels on Luffy fighting Shanks when they could party?
That's true. Alright. Question 5. Do you think that the Wano Act might end in the late December 2021? The Wano arc might end in late December 2021.
What does that give us?
It gives us 70
60
chapters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It's possible.
It has to be over by then. That's 140 chapters.
140.
Now, according to Christian, 200.
Everyone's getting a fight. Is what it is.
Mhm.
Alright. 6th and final question. How will Luffy defeat Blackbeard without any ass pulls from Oda? Luffy will be at that level at that point. Awakening, whatever you want to fucking call it, alright?
There's no ass pull needed.
2 devil fruits, not 3.
Now, this is a question. Assume that Kaido's got a dragon form for no reason.
I mean, we're talking about Blackbeard here.
Yeah, sorry, Blackbeard.
Yeah. So I don't know about that.
I don't think Blackbeard's a problem. It's more like right now with Kaido.
Yeah. Luffy will
think
be April level once he goes up against Blackbeard. I don't see why that's a problem. Again, Blackbeard's gonna drown, and we all know that. Knocks him into the water, drowns.
And he'll finally sleep forever.
Yeah. That's right. Alright. And that is the end of this massive Red Force / Wano Report episode.
Shout out to Morj and O'Hara. This is Christian's idea.
Yeah.
Merging the shows together.
So we can have them on the show and also be on their show. Because otherwise it's never going to happen.
We've done it before.
Yeah,
It's
but that's
just
when you were here.
It's just that when I organised it, it worked out.
Well, you ain't here. We can't do it on Sundays and shit. And Morj's
Sure.
busy and, schedules. So, we'll see how this works out.
Like the show.
Sure.
Subscribe to the channel.
Sure.
Pay $5 on the Patreon to
Make sure Sanji doesn't go out round one.
make sure your characters
Don't get
have
bad matchups.
appropriate matchups.
Exactly. Alright.
That's it.
Checks the go key.
Good night.